Let's get right into it, man. You already know we rocking. It's another special episode of Bad for the Community. We back. It's young.
Almost fucked it up.
It's Raw the 508 God on the mic. I got St. East to my left.
Gang.
Tomo to his left.
Yeah, we here drinking Topo Chico.
Nate Nick's in the room. Nate Nick's in the room.
How you doing?
We got Dion in the room as well. And we got a special guest with us. We got the talented Amanda Shea. We got to put some respect on your name. Spoken Artist of the Year.
Appreciate
Is that the first? Is that the first time you won that?
Yeah, this is the first time that category even existed.
Okay, so yes. I wanted to make sure because like who would have won that last year? Yeah, I feel like you would have been a back to back. It would have been a
I appreciate that.
Do you think they created the category just so they could nominate you and give you the award?
That's crazy. All the other nominations, like
there's a lot of talented spoken word artists in the city. But
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know them as much as I know Amanda Shea. Like I don't have to go. Like I'm not looking for spoken word necessarily, but I go to these events and she's there. And her name just rings bells.
I appreciate that. Nah, I don't think they created the category just to give it to me, but that's funny. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna use that. I think that for the last 3 years, you know, especially somebody like me, I'm just like, yo, I don't feel like we have representation in our community. Like there's no award for spoken word artist or poet. And considering we have all these music award shows and like spoken word is, I'm sorry, some of y'all favorite rappers were poets before they were rappers. So it's like, put some respect on our name first and foremost. And I think it was just a way of like allowing people to see that we are also ingrained in the music scene too. Like we really are. When we're doing open mics, we're sharing stages with each other all the time. And on top of that, I've been blessed to be asked to do mad features on a lot of rappers' albums. So it's like, why not? Like, why do we not have this? So to have an inaugural category and be recognized, I think for me, it was like super dope to see, but also gives the younger generation of poets like something that they could feel like, yo, this is for us too.
Do you feel like the spoken artist communities underappreciated, I guess, in the bigger music? Like we talk about the community and the creative scene, but it's like we're mostly talking about music and maybe art, like what's it called, visual art and stuff like that, but maybe not as much spoken art. And you are the first spoken artist on the podcast. So it's like, being able to represent that. Is it about time Amanda Shea got recognized for that or spoken arts got recognized, period?
Yeah, it's that. I mean, think about it. Like Wale, Beyonce had that Lemonade album. You know, like we see spoken word Rhapsody. We see Lupe Fiasco. Like we have like examples of artists that are collaborating, even Kanye and the Doc. I know that's like kind of confidential.
No. I thought you were going to go somewhere else with it because I think my favorite use of spoken word is on Never Let Me Down on College Dropout. What was his name? Jay Ivy, is it?
Yeah, it's Jay Ivory.
I bet he killed that. Like, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I think once people saw the doc, they were like, oh, like he was around all different type of artists. Like that's how this happens. I think we always think about music and like rap, or we think about, R&B singing and things like that. But it's like, nah, we out here too. And we could do the same thing on festival stages. You see all of this stuff. Like we could do that. We don't always have to ingrain or encompass music within our set, even though we could. Yeah. And I think for me, because I saw a lot of different poets in the community doing that. I mean, think about it. Tim Hall is a part of Still Gold, but Tim Hall is a poet and he also plays sax. Like, dude is crazy good. You know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. So it's like we see people doing this. You see Jija, like also nominated in that category. Like lots of influences from, African drumming and things like that. Like ingrained.
Black Cotton Club, man.
You know what I'm saying? Black Cotton Club. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, like we are here. And like Jill Scott for me is like one of like my faves that I look up to in that respect, who's been able to weave in singing, spoken word and music. And so it can work. It's just, why are we out of those conversations when you're doing Boston Calling or you're doing what was the other festival I saw not too long ago? It's like In Day, One Day. I don't know what do they call it, but it's like
in Vegas. You talking about a festival out here?
Yeah, it's like mad festivals. When you think about it, like we're not invited to share space on those stages, even though we've seen it work.
Can I answer your question? True. And this is just me like trying to think, like coming up with the answer to that question of why is it that way. And I feel like I think spoken, especially like poetry, like it requires a bigger emotional investment, especially like when music has a beat, like whether you want to or not, your body will just naturally react to it. But like when you're listening to spoken art, you literally have to like listen and connect with what's going on. It's not just a unconscious like movement.
Yeah, I would imagine that if I'm like a spoken word artist and I'm doing like a set at like a festival or something like that, it's like part of my set will be like, you know, pure kind of like just spoken word, and a lot of it will also be spoken word with like accompaniment, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, because like I think it's like you're saying, like those things go hand in hand. I think a lot of times like when you have like a band behind you and you're a spoken word artist, like the band will kind of just pick up and like match your energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think like that's where the opportunities come in for like those festival stage and stuff like that, because it's like there's a musicality to like everything, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes down to like relaying and like conveying your emotions in the way that spoken word artists do. I think that it aligns really well, like on both ends, you know? So maybe part of it is that like the opportunities aren't there because people haven't seen that, you know what I mean?
So I think that's why, like, I'm trying to go as hard as I possibly can, because I don't want to, like, there is no lane. Like, before I even started this journey, I thought I had to be like a slam poet, because slam poets have stages all over the world. You know what I'm saying? You could win competitions, things like that. It's bread. At the same time, like, I personally don't want to compete like my art with that's no shade to anybody who wants to, because that's what it's there for. But me personally, I just don't want to do that. So for me, I'm like, well, how do we get on these stages? How are we going to build these platforms? And like COVID knocked a lot of these things out when, you know, everything, we lost so many brick and mortar places that held
those
space
spaces,
for us and for other musical artists. Like an open mic, when people hear that, they're like, oh, I'm thinking it's just poetry. It's like, nah, open mic means whatever you do. You could go up there and tell jokes if you want. It's whatever you want. You know, I just want to show people that there's different lanes and methods of moving. Like storytelling is poetry. You know what I'm saying? Like being on festivals is something we can do. Being in award shows is something we can do. So I just want to go hard and show us like there's nothing that, we're not limitless. You know what I'm saying? It's not just us and the people are always like, oh, you do spoken word. So it's like the sun and the moon. And I'm like, yo, that's a form. It's a form of it.
Yeah.
But like some of us are really like giving you all of that. And I feel like to your comment about the festival where you're like, you have to listen intently. You gotta do that for music too, but those are who are there to like do
as much now.
I mean, have you ever been to a show and people are playing, they're rapping and people are talking?
Yes.
I'm just saying, so it's the same.
I was just at one last night.
It's the same thing. It's like either.
But sometimes you don't even know what like they're saying, but the beat hits so hard that you could at least still move to it.
But not everybody. I think the job of the artist is like to ensure that we're capturing the room. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even if you do music, doesn't mean you're going to capture, everybody's going to be quiet and just jam out either.
It's a fact. I feel like, to what you're saying, right? I'm not doing this so that you could just dance to the beat. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. I'm rapping these words for a reason. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's really like valid.
I mean, it's not about it being valid. I'm saying I think that can be the disconnect sometimes, where it requires you to intently like be paying attention and investing in that raw emotion that person's conveying in that moment.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying. This is kind of like the battle that we have all the time, where it's like, yo, the music, when you have something to fill that space, it's a little easier. At the same time, like for real consumers, like who are listening to everything and not just the beat, and not just the production. I've always said this, like I listen to lyrics. Like, so if you ain't that person too, if you ain't saying nothing, I don't care what music you got in the background. Like,
I'm not talking on myself. I'm talking about other people. And you might not even want those people. You might not even care for those people who aren't listening intently for the lyrics and what you're saying.
I feel like this. I love all people. So I appreciate everybody in the audience. I appreciate those who are disrespecting the mic and talking over me. I respect the ones who are there to get the message and get the vibes and get the feelings. I'm also there for the people who are there to support me. I say it during every show, like it is my responsibility to ensure who is there to get what they need to get that. I can't pay attention to those who ain't even in the mindset to receive, because I don't know where these people are at. And like, let's be real, events be mad long. So it's like some people's attention spans can't
It's a minute at this point.
Take,
It's
like,
only getting shorter.
You know what I'm saying?
You know?
And my son is like that. Like, I be trying to get my 15-year-old to come to my shows, and he's like, how long is it? I'd be like 3 hours.
Type, yeah.
He'd be like, yeah, nah. And I'd be like, yo, I swear it's gonna be lit. Da, 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 da. And he's like, yeah, nah.
Does he respect the craft though?
He respects the craft, but he's just like, bro, I don't want to sit here for 3 hours, bro. Like, I'm just not gonna do
I feel
that.
that too,
In respect. But then
Facts.
there's kids his age, youth his age, that are like, yo, I'm here for the whole 4 hours and I'm in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they're inspired or they get something from it. So it's like, that's anybody's audience.
Yeah, I think like a lot of artists kind of like go like they almost like lead themselves astray. You feel me? If that makes sense, because they're trying so hard to control like the entire crowd when there are people that are really rock with them, and they're almost like ignoring those people because they're trying to like get the attention of the other people like behind them or like that.
I
or maybe
clown
aren't
them.
focusing.
That's what I do. I clown them at my shows. I'd be like, yo, like, we're outside. We're here to get this message. And like, we respect y'all. Like, this one show I just did, it was real hard for the host to just get crowd control. And because people were just being disrespectful and, you know, drinking. And
that's really when it starts getting
yo, it was
I
crazy.
mean.
So I got on the mic and I was just like, yo, we appreciate y'all. Like, give a round of applause for the niggas talking in the back and everybody's cheering them on and stuff. And I'm like, yo, we need people like you, because if it wasn't people like you to remind people like us who are here to get the medicine, to get the healing, to get the emotion, like, we need y'all to remind us why we here in this room. And that's why we got to pay attention, because we got niggas like you being ignorant. And what's funny is everybody shut the fuck up after that. Because now they don't want to be the nigga that's making the noise. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's us. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
So am I correct in saying that you started music before you got into spoken word?
I started spoken word before I got into music.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to understand, like, what's the decision making look like when you're deciding, I just want to stick to this lane instead of putting shit on beats?
Oh, I'm an Aquarius and I have a rising Cancer and I have a moon sign in Aries.
I don't know what this means.
I know, it's all right. We'll have a conversation after. So for me, I think everything is possible. I was born with that gene of like, anything is possible.
Yeah.
So I try to do everything. I don't think there was a decision making. I feel like when I started writing as a kid, I was 8 years old, and music also accompanied that too. Like, music has always been a part of my life. That's a way me and my father actually bonded, like by listening to all different genres of music. So I feel like the influence was always there. I just think that now I'm more comfortable, because being a spoken word artist for me and like writing, I was very confident in my pen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew I could write. You know what I'm saying? At first I was kind of, now I'm like, you ain't messing with my pen. You know what I'm saying? But with music, because I'm not a musician and because we have this whole like hierarchy of people who go to school for it and people who don't, I've never felt comfortable just embracing music like that, because I felt like, who am I to be like, oh, I don't know, I can't read music, so I can't tell a musician what note to play. So I never felt confident in that. And now I'm just like, shout out to my boy Tariq, who said, yo, like, Common just gets out there and does what he wants. Like, I feel like you that. Like, just get out there and be you. Like, the beat, especially with the band, like you said, it's like they're going to pick up on what you do anyways. Yeah. Just feel it. Like, you know rhythm. You're a poet. You have rhythm within your own cadence and, like, how you perform. So it's like, just feel it. And now I'm like, I'm just feeling it just like I feel my poetry.
That's what Rick Rubin just said.
Yeah, facts.
Sit down. He's like, I don't know anything about music. I have no technical skills. I feel know
like
how I feel.
90% of the music industry doesn't go to school for.
But I think part of it is that like
you gotta kind of trolling too. Like,
yeah, a little bit. But like, you got to think about the environment that we're in. You feel me? It's like
we're in Boston,
exactly. Like Berkeley's right there, and it's like a similar
music
thing with the folks that are in New York too. Where it's like, you know what I mean? You can be like an artist and like, but I think there's like a difference in like the what you would consider like a musician versus like someone who's like an artist. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of times like holds people back from like reaching their true potential because they're like stepping away from that kind of like side of themselves that is like musical. You feel me? Because like you said, like there's rhythm in like your cadence. There's rhythm in like your body. Like you were talking about earlier, when the music hits you, it's just kind of like you move. You feel me? But I think a lot of times because of the way that our environment is curated, it feels very like isolating for people that are not classically trained. You know what I mean?
that was beautifully said. That's exactly how it feels. And you're also sharing stages with some of these people who are classically trained. Like I do so far shows now. And every time I go, people are like, this is the first time I've ever seen spoken word on the bill. They usually have musicians. Like we want more of this. And I'm like, well, why is that?
Facts.
Is it because spoken word artists don't feel like they could potentially, mesh with musicians? And also, like, I ain't gonna hold you. I've been on stages with some of the best musicians. I'm like, where did you go to school? Berkeley. They just doing crazy things with their voice and the instrument, and it's fire. But it's like that could be intimidating if I didn't know who I was as an artist. You feel me?
When did you get to that point where you was comfortable in like who you were and like your art?
I think it's a constant evolution, to be honest. I think that every step that you take, you're learning to be comfortable with every step, because this industry is kind of crazy. I think it tests you in ways that I don't think any other profession, or maybe that I don't know of or could think of, tests you on a day-to-day by who you are, your integrity, your morals, your characteristics. What kind of artist are you going to be? Who are you pandering to? What's your mission? What's your catchphrase? Who's your personality? So it's hard. Like, I think it's an evolution thing. Like I'm constantly finding who I am in my art, and constantly just trying to stay authentic to what feels good.
With that, do you still don't rehearse?
I don't rehearse.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Whoa. And I think one of the things that I'm always very impressed by when it comes to like down to like your spoken word in particular is that you're not very like you don't shy away from like presenting yourself as you are in the moment. You know what I mean?
You.
I think a lot of folks like, cause like I've seen you like, whether it's like you're reading off like a piece of paper off your phone or like kind of just going like, off something that you have memorized, like you're not afraid to just present yourself as you are. And a lot of people might like be like, oh, that's not how it should be done. Or that's not how I want to do it, because like, I feel like that doesn't feel like as like professional or whatever that means. But I think like, you do it in a way that's so like encapsulating, and it shows that you care about your craft above all else. So it's like, you're not gonna like shy away from that. So I feel like one of the things that we talk about when we work with like music artists is like, yo, you gotta have your lyrics memorized and all that stuff. But it's like, I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on folks to like, when they forget shit, then they're like, oh, now like, what do I do? Like, they're like type shit. And I'm like,
didn't we see that last week?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And it's like, folks got to be able to go with the flow, because that's really what's most important. Once you get up there, it's like, there's no like, you can like, take a breath, all this stuff. But it's like, if you just like running it back over and over and over again, it's like you're losing your
credibility,
as an artist.
Yeah.
Be able to roll with the punches. And I think like you do that a lot. And I think that's always most like, that's impressive to me.
Coming from you, I think that's a hell of a compliment. So thank you for saying that, because I feel like you embody that same energy. You have really great crowd control. Every time you perform, it's a different feeling. Like you're very much present in yourself. And I think for me, those are the people that I gravitate the most to. I tell people all the time, like, this isn't a performance. Like, I know it's called a performance, but to me, that word means it's performative. Like I'm putting on an act, or like showing you something that you want to be razzle dazzled by. Nah, like I'm myself. How I'm talking right now on this interview is how I'm gonna be talking on stage. I be getting on people. I jump in your face if you talking. I'm very much like myself. And I think it took me a while to get here, because in the beginning, I was just looking at other people to emulate and like things that I liked about them. And I think we all do that. That's where inspiration comes from. But I was walking off stage being like, damn, that shit's trash. Like, I don't feel good about the performance, even though people are telling me that. It was weird. It was like a disconnect. And then I started like separating myself from the art. Like, I'm gonna just spit it. Like you said, like it's repetition. Like I just gotta be pitch perfect. It's like, nah, actually, if I wanted people to hear me perfect, they could go listen to the track on streaming platforms. Like the live performance is the authenticity, because when a note is off or the key is wrong, it's you're never gonna see that again. Like that moment is just that.
And the
like,
imperfections in music are just as valuable. Like that's why,
absolutely,
you could hop on a DAW and like make a beat, but even then you might like do something to your piano notes to make it more, quantize it, to make it sound more like a natural piano. Because why do you want it to sound perfect like a computer made it? Like that's the difference between AI art and like real art, like humans are making.
And that's what I'm trying to get back to too. It's like I'm releasing an EP and it's all produced. It's like beats that probably nobody would ever think poetry is gonna ever be on.
That's hard.
Which I'm excited about, like showing you like the different genres. We could do jazz, we could do rock.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, why is that? Because like, what is a traditional sound then?
Ooh.
Is it no beat?
No, because she's saying like beats that no one would ever get on, but then it's like, what is the beats that people do get on?
Well, I'm
that
thinking
you wouldn't
with
expect like poetry to be.
yeah,
on, I
to
guess.
have poetry accompanied with. So like think of Paramore or think of Pearl Jam and like think of the beats or Nirvana.
Yeah.
Would you be able to could you hear poetry over like could you? And it's like I want to take you to a place where you could.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out Tim too, because I know he did like the Smells Like Teen Spirit kind of like cover with his like poetry with like the sax. That was
He
hard.
changed the arrangement of it, which was incredible. It was
fire.
just a slow down version. And again, like you music artists, sometimes y'all be kind of lazy because I'm like, y'all, you could take a track that's fire as hell and like strip it down, rearrange it, do acoustic, do a live. Like y'all got so many options. It's like, why don't y'all do it?
Type shit.
You do any trap beats on the project?
I got one. I got one.
Yeah.
What's the
I
topic?
got one.
What's the top? Like, what's the subject matter on that
It's
one?
all types of stuff. That's what's
Okay.
even crazy. It's actually heavy stuff. Like I'm laughing about it now because I'm like, yo, I'm talking about sexual violence.
Yeah, this came from
I'm
the
talking
darkest
about
moments.
addiction. I'm talking about broken promises. I'm talking about love. I'm talking about integrity. I'm talking about all different types of stuff. But when you hear it, it's gonna make sense.
So you know what I was interested about when you said EP, right? Because before that, I had a question pending in my mind, like why maybe there's not more people taking that lane and going toward the music lane. Because and if I make an assumption, I feel like there's a somewhat structure to the music business. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, I'm gonna create a project, get enough hype for that, get signed by a label, keep putting out albums, go on tour, live off my discography. Like, what does that structure look like for a spoken word artist? And you talked about having EP, so you're on streaming services.
Yeah.
You're already doing events in places. So it's like touring is a part of that, but like, I don't see necessarily labels signing, spoken word artists, or maybe they are and I'm just not hip.
I don't know if they do, and that's a really good question. I don't even ask myself that. I'm just like, well, how can we move around? Like other artists do, you know what I'm saying? Like I've been on tour, I've been on projects, I'm on streaming platforms, you know what I'm saying? The next step is releasing a book because that's also revenue. You know what I'm saying? Going on tours, doing book signings, that's outside of the performance, doing TED Talks and workshops in schools about how you use writing as a healing mechanism and how you use writing to like literally heal other people and like show yourself and use your vulnerability as well as showing who you are as an artist. So it's like, there's so many lanes at this point. Like, why would you limit yourself?
I'm glad you said the book thing.
I was gonna say, like, what's stopping you from like getting your shit in print and then just getting it published? You know, and getting into
So
that kind of world.
I wasn't even trying to say that yet, but I actually have a publishing deal.
Oh, snap.
I do.
That's what's
Turn it up.
But I haven't. That's like exclusive. I've never said that to nobody.
Hey, it's a
but-
BFTC exclusive.
Yeah,
We're
it's
breaking it.
exclusive. Shout out to Balboa Publishing because
That's what's up.
they're the ones that's going to be doing the book. I was going to go the self-publishing route. Shout out my girl Risa Wrights because she's also a poet and also has almost 3 books out at this point. So we were going to go that route because Amazon is a cool platform. They push it out to all these other publications. They even help you with your marketing. Getting a book from their site, if you wanted to sell in person, is only $3 a book. So it's
That's
like,
fire.
you know what I'm saying? So
That's
they
not
do
bad.
some of the work for you and it's not expensive. You pay no money up front. Like anybody could do this. And that's why I'm like, there's no lane.
So why take the publishing deal?
Because, I want to, I wanted to take the publishing deal because I wanted to be able for my second book to be on a bigger platform and sign with a different publisher. I'm gonna just be honest with that.
You already planning out the second deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the honesty. And I'm glad you said the thing about the books because even then I'm thinking like the different streams of income, it can't all just be active like income, you know what I mean? Like you also want to create those passive and residual income where
Absolutely.
you're making money while you sleep in those books and having it on streaming services or whether I've seen like YouTube videos where you're putting visuals behind your spoken art. So it's like as long as you're doing that, you don't always have to rely on like the in-person performance aspect of it.
That shit gets fatiguing too.
Yeah, I'm ahead.
It is super tiring, especially like when you're trying to travel the world. Like I also don't just think of Boston when I think about being an artist. You know, I think very globally. So I'm just like, okay, how can I get people in Europe to hear me? How can I get people in Japan and in Africa to hear me? And it's like part of that was like the streaming platform like route, but also not everybody's into music like that. Some people do want to read.
I was gonna ask, do you plan on staying independent with your music or moving like a similar route, like as far as like working with a major distributor or something?
I would definitely do like a distribution deal, but I don't think I would like sign with like a label. I feel like everything that we do as artists from the beginning of our career up until we get big, like, or a level that we want. I don't like saying big or like higher up because it's like tier levels. I know like that's the industry, but I don't subscribe to that. So I want to say like when we get to where we're comfortable or where we feel is like successful, it's like, why stop doing all that? Like it's organic. Like why have somebody step in and give me all this money to potentially change?
Because by the time they come and offer you the money,
you're already popping.
You have value. You know what I mean?
Like I've definitely listened to La Russell a lot. He's been preaching a lot of the things that we've been preaching about like 5-6 years ago, just being in Boston and seeing like how the infrastructure works, you know, how the politics work, how like we have to like move around in this way. And it's like for me, I want to keep all of my intellectual property. It's just like masters. I want to own my own. I want to own my own stuff because at the end of the day, like I see myself in like the National African American Museum in DC, like next to Whitney and all the greats, like with their work and their journals and glass. Like that's legacy to me.
For real.
Now, this is what I've been wondering this whole time, right? So I did my Googles, okay? I know that you were an accountant in your past life and you said, fuck all that, and you went full-time as an artist. I actually went back into
the opposite
my accounting field. Like I was like, yo, like I graduated school, like got my accounting degree. I was about to like, you know, go into a job and I said, forget all that. I'm about to just go full-time, bet on myself. But then it kind of got to the point, and I've repeated this too many times, but it got to the point where it's just like, yeah, but I'm missing out on way too much money. Like while I'm doing this, and like got to the point where I'm
more sweatpants.
No more sweatpants. You feel me? we dressed up, but not. So now I'm in that mode of like I'm gonna do both. Not to say I'm gonna stop, but I got to do both because if I want to do the things I want to do, whatever the case is, like I felt like that was just the natural next step. But I'm curious to know like what was that, and like reflecting on that decision. I'm sure it's worth it like now, but in those moments, like how do you justify taking that risk when you have a comfortable situation? Then you're saying I'm betting it all on myself, especially as a mother.
Ooh, so I
came in the heavy question.
Sure the hell did. Okay.
That's a good question.
Well, kudos to you for getting your degree and being in the career path that you're on. Like that just gets.
I like when she snaps. It just make everything bad. We gotta have like a snapping sound.
You
like,
know, there's not
y'all could use it. Just use
there's not
bite.
that many niggas that are doing that either. So you're really doing your thing, bro.
I come from a long line of hustlers, so I'm also like, I've had a really cool what's the word? Like childhood, because I know what it's like to be in like a family setting. And then I also know what it's like to be raised by a single mom, jumping around from house to house or being evicted. Like I've had a very hard life. So I saw both sides of like what things could look like. And for me, like when I took the plunge and was like, you know what? For me, I love accounting. I love numbers. Like I don't know what that is. I love numbers. I do.
It just makes sense.
They do. Like, and I'm a logical person. Yeah. So if it adds up, it makes sense. The math got to be mathing. You feel me?
I don't like math, but I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
The math got to be
it's black and white. It's real clear.
There's no gray.
Exactly.
And I think... So I was about to ask you your sign and go
because they
into
say
all
like
that.
the accountants are like less creative
Hold
people.
on. I want to put this to test. You said you're gonna ask him what's his sign. What do you feel like his sign is? You're reading his energy. What does he come off at?
A Libra.
Yeah.
Whoa! Shit!
No cap.
Is that what you are?
Are you dead ass?
I'm dead ass.
He is a Libra.
What's Nate?
Don't worry about me.
What you mean don't worry about you? Nigga? You in the
Gemini.
Gemini.
Or a Capricorn. No, I'm not saying he's
Are you really a Libra?
I'm also a Libra.
Yes, I'm a Libra.
Are you a Libra too?
I thought you was joking, bro. You about to be like,
I'm not a Libra.
He's not a real nigga. You don't know my birthday.
That's crazy. On this podcast for how long?
Bro, I on a nigga's birthday. I ain't know what sign is associated to his birthday.
I love that. So I only said that because like the air, and we're very logical people, but we're also like risk takers. Like even though it doesn't make sense with what you're saying, like even just being like, well, I'm going back into this field and this is the energy I need to be in. We're also like, there's something in you that's clawing.
There's more to it.
Make sure that you don't stay there. And that was kind of it for me. I always said to myself, worst case scenario, this shit don't work out.
You always got your degree.
Accounting is right there, bro. Like I made 80K and left it behind to make 20K, almost 30K by being an Uber and a Lyft driver. Like I come from a long line of hustlers. Like we have to get it how we get it. And if this is my dream and this is my goal and I could put in years of school, I could be a mom, I could do all these things and balance all these things, then why can't I balance what I want for myself?
Did it ever get to a point where like
It's a good way to look at it.
regret sets in?
Nah.
Never at any point?
I don't live with any type of regrets. I feel like life is supposed to be lifing the way that it is.
Like that's
even the bad things. Like,
I mean, like you don't want to look back when you're, you know, if you get to reach like 80, 90, 70 years old, like, damn, I regret not doing this.
And that was the mentality too. Like, imagine you 80 years old and you're like, damn, I never got to be an artist. What is the probability of you being an artist?
Facts.
Yeah, it's not it.
And I be thinking about like, for me at least, like as I like continue to pursue music, I think about like my nephew too. Is like I be like having conversations with him, and I think a lot of times like it always comes down to like he'll tell me all these different things that he wants to do and like he wants to be and stuff like that. And like it'd be weird. He'll ask me like what I want to do, and I'll be like, I feel like I'm already doing it. You feel me? I want to like work with like young people, but also I want to be like a musician. You feel me? And that's like what I wanted to do. And like I be thinking about it, like if I like I'm not pursuing my dreams, and it's like what kind of precedent am I setting for like the younger generation of people that I'm like impacting on a consistent basis? Like if they don't see like other people doing it, then how will they know it's possible?
You got to be the example. Like you got to lead by example. Nobody in my family was ever doing this. When I first told my mama, I first told my brother first, but when I told my mama,
how did you take that news?
My brother was like, "You gonna be broken homeless," and he was right, because I definitely had a whole year in a shelter. Like that's a real thing. Like, and what's crazy at that time, I was being interviewed by 96.9 Pebbles Boston, and I'm going into a shelter 2 days later. Like the complexities of that, of having people see you in the street and being like, "Yo, I just saw you," but you know where your situation is. Like the journey is never easy, but it's like we have to sometimes sacrifice too. Like nobody in my family is doing this. My brother's in IT. My mom is in the restaurant business. My mom was really disappointed. She was just like, "Yo, you got 2 kids. Like what are you doing?" And I'm just like, yo, at the time I felt like, yo, I grew up in addiction. Both my parents were addicts. I ended up getting married. My husband turned into an addict because he got hurt on the job. Like no one even saw that coming. So I was like, yo, if these people it's something just freakily happened to them, you know what I'm saying? And they get into these positions where they can't chase their dreams. Like I owe it to myself and them to chase my dreams.
That's real.
You know, I lost my husband last year, you know what I'm saying? Which was really hard because he's my youngest son's father. You know what I'm saying? We had gotten married in 2015. He had gotten hurt on the job. Literally in 6 months' time, he's shooting heroin in the street. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody could have saw that coming. And for 5 years, he struggled real bad with that. You know what I'm saying? So now, even though he's not here, I know he lives through me, and I know he lives through our sons, our kids. So it's like, yo, I owe it to him too, to be like, yo, ain't nothing gonna stop you, because you really don't know when the last time, like your last breath is on this earth.
And I'm big on like, you're never really dead until your name stops like roaming the earth, you know, like as long as your legacy alive, you keeping that person alive, whether it's through this interview, whether it's through, you know, your art, like you're keeping that person alive through what you're doing. So I salute that.
So artists, stop hoarding.
Facts.
Like I just had this conversation with my friend the other day. It's like, stop hoarding. You got to stop hoarding, because like, think about it. If worst case scenario, this was your last day, where's all that art going to be heard at?
Yo, who do I give the iCloud
Who do you give it to?
Who do I give the iCloud password to? Which
Somebody.
Which one of y'all can I trust? Easy. You got me, bro. You got me. You gonna make sure the rollout is smooth and everything?
Tomo, see the thing about Tomo,
He'll drop it all at once.
But he'll drop it too quickly.
Yeah.
Too much and too quickly.
Nah, bro, you gotta you gotta milk my shit like all they do, like the music business does with.
I'm gonna say that was a little.
But like the music business do, you know what I mean? Like, you know, stretch it to like 3 albums. By the 3rd album, you beating a dead horse.
Bro. I wouldn't do that. I already know the moves, bro. You feel me? We gonna get features from big artists on your song, rearrange the songs,
turn
new
my
beats,
30-second verses to 3-minute songs.
We gonna get clips of you from when you was alive, piece it together for music videos, put the documentary. We gonna come out with plush dolls.
We gonna profit off of all of that.
Right.
So when we see the
They said I'm gonna be Diddy out here.
You feel me? You see the Pop Smoke situation. Who else was it that they did that to recently? Like niggas didn't fuck with it though. Niggas didn't fuck with
But
it.
it's like, but if my
It
niggas
depends.
is
It
profiting
depends on
off of it,
who's putting it out there.
Yeah.
Like people know this is love, so that's different.
So those are
it's
similar
not like
things.
Diddy releasing a Biggie album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't think anybody's
saying.
mad at like X's mom like still putting out. Are
No.
they?
Yeah, a little bit. A little
Some
bit.
people don't
But
like
no,
it.
it's
A little
it's
bit.
her. It's
Not because
his
of that,
family.
but because of the quality of the music.
Like I said, beat that dead horse, man. Beat that dead.
But I mean, it's a similar thing though with like Mac Miller. You feel me? Like how like his
I didn't
they had,
like that
the
last
posthumous
album.
I didn't like it either.
But what's
But,
the
like,
circle
no, but
supposed
People
to
were like
like?
rocking with
What-
it. It was supposed to be a trilogy,
Yeah.
so it was like it's still like incomplete.
And he was supposed to go on tour with Thundercat too,
Right.
which
But
is
didn't he
crazy.
create it
That's a
before
fool.
he
Tickets for-
died? So it's not like they pieced it together. Like, isn't that what he left with?
Yeah, but again, it was
The
still
person's not
incomplete.
here to be able, the
Quality
Mac
control.
Miller
Final
sauce,
decision.
it's
Yeah.
different. So
And
I
it was-
feel that.
It was like good music for like what it was, but knowing what it could have been is like kind of like what holds like fans, at least for me, at least as like a fan of Mac, it like holds me back from like being able to truly like appreciate it.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Same.
Hear that?
Same.
I just thought of something. Do you feel like artists should have sort of like an artist will, where it's like they create some type of project or some type of thing to be released after they pass?
Ooh.
Kind of like
you
a
should
time
have a
capsule.
will
but, like,
anyways.
you know,
Should have
So it's like
will,
don't release
period.
this until I'm gone.
That'd be hard.
I was like,
No, but we might need to do that. That's not.
saying.
You might be spending.
That's a good
We
idea.
can start a whole business off of that.
Because we're thinking about wills. Like, I feel like people should definitely have like a living will. That's just important, period.
Well, like
Yeah,
once you have
facts.
assets, I feel like
Ah,
without
without
assets,
it,
what you
bro.
gonna give them,
Bro,
Like,
like,
I'm gonna
even
give my
without
2
it,
Nah, but it's
Jordans
just like-
over to my little
No,
brother.
but it's also like just
that's
in
some real
respect.
shit, though.
That's real. That's real shit.
okay.
And it
You know,
also
I have
means
a
a lot
dresser
to the
from my
people.
great grandmama. Like that's from like 1921.
But that has, like, value.
Does
But
it? Does it?
But it has
I-
like sentimental.
And it also,
value.
that's what I'm saying, but it will mean
So
a lot
can
to the
some
But that's
people
what I'm
that you're leaving
saying.
it
But
to.
if I don't put that in my will, then it could be on the curb. You feel me? So it's
Right.
like, this is what I'm saying. But that artist will is a really good idea because it also is protecting, the artist who's no longer here.
Facts.
Because
from that
a-
exploitation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because let's be real, like a lot of these labels are still making money off of the artists that are no longer here just by spinning their records. Like,
Yeah,
do
bro.
we like that? Like,
Especially with streaming, like you gonna keep, making money for the label for years.
Michael Jackson
decades.
is like perfect example of that.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like,
I don't know what's like the money he's generating every year, but I'm sure it's a pretty.
even
penny.
Mariah Carey, that Merry Christmas song. When I
Oh
heard the
my
numbers on
God.
that, I was
Yeah,
like,
every
wow,
year.
she could just eat off of
It's like y'all
the
are not
rest of
getting
it.
bored of this damn
No,
song.
not at
Nah,
all.
bro, that's just
Bro,
the
that's
composition.
just
That
tied
shit's
to Christmas
immaculate,
now.
bro.
That's just tied to Christmas. It's not
That
going
is-
nowhere.
That shit's hard.
That's gonna be for
Not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
generations.
Like, that shit
It's
here to
always
stay.
gonna be
That's-
in the rotation.
That's one
period.
of them ones. Like
When she's long gone from here, they're still gonna be spinning that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
no,
But
right.
does she want that? And that's where your
Oh, I'm sure she
conversation
want-
comes in.
She comes in with the
For them kids, she should.
I was about to
I mean,
say,
for the
she ain't gonna be
babies,
eating
yeah.
Frost Thanksgiving. Like, she's coming.
yeah, right.
You know?
Every
She posted
time,
a
every
video,
time,
she was like,
around the same
she was like,
year.
you know what time it is? Yeah, I'm on my way.
So when did you
Shout
get
out Mariah Carey,
to
man.
the point where you was like that? Like I said, you was never regretting the decision, but
Mhm.
when did it get to the point where it's like it all made sense? Like it got to the point where it's like, damn, that was worth it. You still getting there? You there? Like you've already passed that point?
That's a good question. I feel like by I want to say 2018, I felt like, this was the best decision because it was the first time I had ever went on tour. And shout out to Be Heard World. It's a beautiful film and dance and poetry company that just puts together these amazing productions that interweaves all these multi-layers of art together. And it was when I went on that tour where I was like, first of all, I had never seen a check. Like the amount of hours I would have had to work to get what I got paid for 2 weeks was nuts. I was just like, oh,
True.
okay, cool. I also had a food allowance. And also, like, I was able to travel to 5 different places I had never been. At this point, I never moved out of like the North. Like, I've always lived on the Cape, Providence, Boston. I think the furthest I had been at that point in my life was South Carolina, because I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. But I had never been nowhere else. So to see Mississippi, to see Tennessee, to see, oh my gosh, where else did we go? Missouri. Like, we went Chicago. Like, I had never been out the city, and here I am getting pulled out the city.
Opportunity that you would have never
took, and I didn't even think I was ready for it, to be real. And there's a documentary, shameless plug, on Prime, on Amazon Prime. We have a documentary called Invisible Imprints, and it's basically with a lot of people that y'all know here in the city. Carvin's in it, Trend Emotions in it, Carvin's in it, Oliver's in it, Adrian's in it. There's just mad people from the city that are a part of this company, so it's super dope. And you see my progress through that. Like, I was trying to memorize. I had never memorized any of my pieces prior to that. They had me write 3 pieces for the tour. So I'm writing new shit and memorizing shit.
Was that hard for you to do?
Stressful.
Fuck yeah. And I didn't think I was good enough.
Integrity by doing that. It's like, I don't normally do this, but here I am now doing this kind of shit.
It was a little integrity, a little bit, only because I was like, I feel like I'm pandering to a theme.
Like commodifying something that it like comes from, like you said, it's coming from these like moments in your life. You can't just manufacture it, you know, it's coming from a genuine spot. So how do you just, I guess, get to the point where you're just making it up on the spot?
But the integrity came in when I realized what the bigger purpose was. So our purpose was to do a production that talks about racism and what it feels like in the United States. Yeah. So for me, I was like, I've never been asked that question. And 2, yes, I've experienced it. And 3, I've experienced it from my own family, because I have Portuguese family, and they didn't even accept me. So I felt like I could tell a story.
We talk about that. Yeah, my I'm Cape Verdean, but my grandfather's Portuguese. Like, no, that's crazy. My grandmother's Portuguese. My grandfather's dark skin. He was on some Uncle Ruckus shit, like favoriting the cult, like the lighter skin children.
But you have to think about the mentality of where that came from. Like that was systemic. That was on purpose. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I have Portuguese family, Cape Verdean family.
Oh, that's my cousin.
We cousins. New Bedford, I lived in for a little while. You know what I'm saying? I have my father is Puerto Rican and Trinidadian, and my mom is Portuguese and Cape Verdean. So it's like all of the
like you spaces. Actual from Portuguese, or like
no, Azores Portugal, like for real. Like
you
we're
know,
from
there's
the country.
Cape Verdeans that be like, I'm not African, I'm Portuguese.
Oh no.
Okay.
Like my mom's mom is from Azores Portugal, but her father is from Cape Verde. Yeah. So it's like, we understand what happened here. Which is also crazy, being even just disregarded and dealing with that type of racism before I could even go out in the world and experience it. So for me, telling that story wasn't inauthentic or I wasn't sacrificing my integrity, because I'm like, okay, I've never wrote to a theme or a particular thing, but this is my story. So as long as I tell my truth, I'm not compromising myself.
Still authentic,
absolutely. Sure. And you see my journey through that whole documentary where I'm mad nervous. You could tell I was just taking the step like out to be a full-time artist. Like, yeah.
And it's funny you say that, right? Because I was watching some of your videos from a couple years back, right? You had a hard time identifying as an artist. You know why? Like, with all the things that you've done now, it's like, why do you feel like you weren't?
I'm gonna hit you with the snaps for your research, Eves.
Now that's a nigga that was locked in.
Nah, that's real. Because I felt like, again, with the educational thing, like with the music, it's like, what I run into people who say that all the time to me now, and I'm just like, what makes you not an artist? It's like this thing, like you have to possess all of this like education. You have to be able to say that your resume is super long. So I felt, because I was so fresh, I'm like, I'm not an artist. I don't really got nothing to show for like my art. But nigga, I create every day. I am an artist. Like my life is art. Like my art don't imitate my life. My life imitates my art. Real shit. Real shit.
She was dropping mad quotables this
Facts.
episode, no bullshit.
I appreciate you. But
that's
it's
facts.
true. Like, if you're being that type of artist, there's artists that are like, nah, like, I'm getting into music because I want to make money and I'm going to play to what people want to hear. And that's cool.
Yeah.
But then there's also artists who are like, yo, this shit ain't going out because I want to make sure it embodies everything of my essence and my being in that moment of time.
Yeah.
I can move out of that space, but like, it's like a timeline for you as an artist when you're being yourself. You start seeing and you start manifesting in your artwork that brings you to the next level. And you're like, oh shit, I said that in the album. You're like, yeah, because you are speaking real life.
And I think what it comes down
Definitely plays a
to,
big part.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm about to say it definitely plays a big part because it's like even like visual artists, whatever you're doing, all that stuff is like vision boards and stuff. It's like almost like you're predicting your future almost. So it's just like
You're writing your
just mapping it
future.
out. Yeah.
Facts. And like one of the biggest things for me about like being an artist is that like a lot of people will call themselves artists, and I think it's like kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum. A lot of people call themselves artists, but like they don't work on their art. Like they never like are working on their art. And I'm like, how are you an artist then?
How do we know that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that question.
right?
Like,
I
how
think
do
it
you know
depends.
that?
It depends on the type of artist that they qualify themselves as, right? If you're a rapper, right? Say you're a rapper, but you're like never rapping. Like you never write lyrics. You never like freestyling.
I'm not with them
You're
every
never in
day.
the
I don't know
studio.
when they're doing that. So
And what's
like,
the frequency?
Because I think as long as you're
I'm doing it
though.
weekly.
Can I
but
put up
ain't
an
doing it
example?
every day.
Can I
But you
put up
rapping,
an
though.
example?
I do
though?
be rapping.
You know what I mean?
Rihanna, right?
Oh,
When's the last time she's actually dropped an album?
As far as we know.
8
Like,
years
that's
ago.
like 20.
8 years ago.
2015? Or
Yeah,
2016?
9 years ago.
She's not an artist of one medium, bro.
That is true.
What's
You
that
feel me?
Oh.
And I
It's
don't
not like
think
she's just not doing nothing. Like,
And
Wait,
like,
say that?
focusing on her other art.
That's a
I
good.
know
You
Mike.
got
That's
him.
my point, though, right?
Look at Tone.
okay.
Right?
That was
He's
good.
spitting though, no bullshit. Because
It's
Rihanna, like, when was the last time Rihanna like classified herself as a music artist?
Oh, and because with the Fenty show, that was
I was
art.
about to say the Amazon
The
Fenty show.
Amazon
Yeah,
Fenty show was
yeah.
art. That was visual art with her brand of lingerie and clothing line
dope,
in it.
yeah.
So like she is also layering multiple mediums into each other to be able to still be an artist. I would say even the makeup is artistry because she's very vocal about saying like, yo, I'm in the lab with these people testing these products. I could tell you what's in them. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that
real.
art too?
I brought her up for that reason because I think despite she's not putting out music consistently, she's still doing a lot of other shit.
That's
She's about to do the Super Bowl.
That's
one of the
Is
biggest
she gonna
things
play
as a
new
music
music though, or is she gonna play old music?
I want to hear
But
the old
even
shit.
then, just because
What?
it's
He's
the
like, I
platform,
don't wanna
You don't go to the
Just
Super
'cause
Bowl
of
to
the
break
platform?
new music. Actually,
Some
know.
people do though.
Beyonce did Formation, right?
Right.
Was that the first?
Yes.
That was hard.
That would, it would like
Which
it
I
would
wanna-
already
I wanna-
come
I'm gonna
out.
bring it back to
but-
that.
But like,
too.
yeah.
Because I
First
really wonder,
live
at the end
performance
of
of
it,
Formation.
who's gonna have the better Super Bowl, Rihanna, Beyonce?
Why you trying to
Okay,
do that?
why are we
Why
comparing?
you
I really
we should
wonder.
not
I
compare
wonder.
that ass right here, bro. Trying to pit two black
That was
women
a
against
setup.
each
That
other.
was a
man.
setup.
I think it depends on what you look
I
for.
really want to see. You know, I'm interested.
I just don't like the comparison thing. It's like even though
facts.
we're so taught that since like little kids, it's like we're so used to trying to attribute like sounds and things to bigger categories of people. It's like when somebody's like, yo, or when I go to a show and like I'm coming out on stage and they fucking play Erykah Badu, it's like, my nigga, like, what do we do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. I get it. But like, my nigga, like, what are we doing? Like, you're categorizing me. I hate that shit. It's like, yo, let artists just be themselves. Like, I don't think Rihanna's is going to be better than Beyonce's or Beyonce's is going to be better than Rihanna's. I think they're going to give us a different vibe. And like, that's what makes them so dope is like, you're going to get something different.
It is
That's
fun
it.
to debate, though. It is fun. To
It's
debate.
not though, because it's like, bruh,
It'd be
bruh.
be
But
like- I
it,
don't
not
know if it's
debating to the
fun.
point of like bringing down someone to
Because
like
Stephen A.
raise
Smith
someone
ain't
up.
shit for saying
you know?
that.
Huh?
He should have
Yeah,
never
facts.
said that. He ain't shit
She's
for
no
saying that.
Beyonce. Yeah,
He
like,
said he's like, oh, Rihanna's gonna perform. He's like, I love Rihanna, this and this and this, but Beyonce. He's
He
like,
said
she's
she
not
ain't no
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Yeah, he was on Sherry
Like-
Shepherd's show, like promoting his book.
Like, get out of here, bro. And I
And
feel
then
like,
he-
is
he
it real? Does he
made a
really
quick
feel like that?
apology,
Or
real
is
quick.
it clickbait? And that's my thing. Like, is it clickbait? Are you saying it to be
Tight.
spicy? Because if you're going to just take it back and renege on it, then why did you say it in the first place?
Facts.
That fake apology shit is not working. It's
Yeah.
it's
He's like, I was just trying to
inauthentic.
have a little fun.
No, you wasn't.
And he
You
didn't
like,
like all
Niggas
you
like,
was
don't be
trying to
standing on
trend.
their
You was
word.
trying to trend.
Type.
yeah.
Niggas don't be standing on their
Trying to
word
sell
at
that
all.
damn book.
Nah.
Facts.
Well,
You
What's the
just
book
trying to
called?
trend.
They're so confused. Like, why you there to promote a book? We talking about Rihanna and Beyonce.
They asked
How
him the
they
question
even come
earlier.
up
They
with
said,
it?
are
No,
you,
they asked
they said,
him
are you
about the
excited? They said, are you
Super
excited about Rihanna
Okay, I
performing?
didn't know that.
That nigga said, yeah, but she's not Beyonce.
But what does that even-
That's a wild answer.
I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just don't know what that
That
means.
was
like,
the Kanye
it's not like,
of Beyonce should have won the award over Taylor
Type
Smith.
shit,
I
yeah.
feel like y'all are just pandering. Y'all know if you even name drop Beyonce, y'all are already talking
you
about
think
Rihanna.
Kanye was
but
pandering in that moment?
I think he was
You don't
telling
think there was some real nigga shit in that?
I think he was telling the truth, but I also think two things can exist at once. He's a Gemini. I think air signs, they think very...
See, this is where we're back to the...
I'm just being honest. It's like air signs, you think multiplicity. Like you're always thinking on the all spectrums. So it's like, do I think he said it because it was real? Yeah. But do I also think he thought it was a little sensational moment? Yes, absolutely.
I think that Henny was talking to in that moment, for sure.
I don't think he was wrong. And I don't think
Maybe
he was
it's not the
wrong.
right
It just
time
wasn't
and
the
moment
right
for it.
time. And also, again, I'm like, men shouldn't be sitting here jumping into conversations that have anything to do with women and their artistry, period.
Facts.
Why are we doing that?
You know what I will say though? I had a problem with your tweet today.
Which one?
Nate.
My tweet?
It was it was like I don't know. There's a video about Blueface and
Oh, I was
Krishan.
like, why do men hate women?
Why? And then you go, why do men hate women? And you've been
just
doing
wanna
this.
know.
You've been doing this for the last couple
just
weeks.
wanna know.
You've been planting these seeds. Like
wanna know.
you just giving people, you know, having them think that men hate women, bro. You know that's not.
Hey,
the,
bro.
Why are you
Same
feeding
time?
into this
Bro,
discourse?
I feel like,
Hold
so
on,
wait,
right?
okay, let me
There's
ask you a
men
question.
who
Let me ask you a
lack
question.
respect for women. There's no doubt
Did you
about
feel
it.
triggered by that tweet?
No, but
Let me ask you a question though. Okay, so what is the word? What is the word?
But
for,
I am a man,
I got
and
you.
I don't
What is the
identify
word?
with
What is
what
the
you're
word
saying.
for when men hate women?
misogynist.
Yeah, right. What's the word for when women hate men?
Hold on. I got you.
I know, but I don't know it.
No, you don't. There isn't one.
But
There is, but it's not.
Misogynist?
Nah, it's like
what's the opposite of a snap?
What is this? What's the word?
Right.
So there is a word that
Opposite
kind of
of
explains it.
So there's not like a word to describe like what that like looks like. There's words to describe like hatred towards like the opposite gender and the opposite sex, but there's not a word to describe like the phenomenon of women
Reverse
hating men.
misogyny.
Type shit. And the reason why I say that is because like the reason why misogyny is a term is because like that's one of the things that like historically has existed.
For
you feel
sure.
me? And so it's like when I say stuff like that, it's being like in this particular example, it's like regardless of like Blueface and Rock, like I'm not trying to talk about either of them. I feel like they're in like an abusive relationship that's like mutually abusive and shit like that.
Absolutely.
But what I
They're
saw,
in the Moneybag Yo Gorilla relationship.
Who's Rock?
that was bad. Krishan Rock.
Oh, her last name's Rock.
Yeah.
That's like,
That's
yeah,
what I
but they
thought
call
her
it
name
Rock.
was Krishan.
But like
Okay.
on the thing, right?
That's
In
fucked up.
the clips that I was seeing, is like a bunch of like gaslighting of her, a bunch of like basically like acting like she's not there, like treating her like she's a child. And I'm like, sure, you could do that if you want, like whatever.
And
But, like,
Blueface is men.
exactly. But it's like, no, it's not just Blueface, it's also the host of that podcast. You feel me? Because he was doing the same thing. It even got to a point where she was like, he asked her a question. He said, "Have you ever had a sober day?" And then she said,
not to excuse their
she's
behavior.
like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like what? Like she said, and then he's like, "Oh, see, you was my bitch. You wouldn't talk to me like that. I swear to God, like this and that." And I'm like, "What do you like? You see on shit like that?" He's
So
like,
there's work
she
to
wouldn't
be
even-
done.
He's saying like she wouldn't even get a chance to like utter those words.
That's unacceptable.
And like he
yes.
can say whatever he wants to her. And Blueface was saying like, "Oh, like you know, I'm used to dealing with bitches that just like when I talk, like they shut up, they listen." You feel me? And I'm like, that's the type
He
of shit.
said that?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like she's freaking out, yes, and she's not right for any of that shit, and maybe she's not even right for the like the altercation they were talking about. But at the same time, they're talking about something that's like triggering her, and she's emphasizing to them,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this, and they continue to do this. They're like
Yeah.
pushing her and all this stuff, and then the only thing you see is, oh, she's crazy, she's doing this and this. You feel me?
Yes,
Why
I
do
know.
men hate women, bro?
No. See,
And niggas smart. Niggas is smart. Like, they're doing
you
this
went
to-
somewhere else with it. You feel me? I was with
How?
you. I was
How?
with you, bro. They're pieces of shit for that. You feel me? I'm with you. But then it's why men hate women, bro.
And do you have an answer?
I can tell you why there are men who hate women
Yeah, why?
because of the system that we live in, where like that's catered to men for so long,
That's facts.
where that you didn't have to actually have respect for women because it didn't negatively affect you if you did treat a woman poorly. You feel me? So you could get away with it.
Would
But-
you rather me say, why do these men hate women?
Bro,
Sure.
Bro just on some shit. It's the same shit when he was
I'm
talking about the Doja Cat song. He was like, I'm a nigga.
Facts,
She
I'm
can't
a-
say niggas ain't shit because I'm a nigga, bro.
What?
You did
Then
say that.
didn't
You did
listen.
say that.
Then you
But
did
then
not
he-
listen.
and
You did
then
not
he
listen
even
to what I
said- but
said.
then he
I don't
even
want
said,
to
like,
rehash that.
Like,
But
it don't be niggas listening to Doja
my
Cat.
issue
you
with
said,
that
so it's
was
like-
that her fan base is predominantly white, and you going out to the concert and you say niggas ain't shit, niggas ain't shit, niggas ain't shit. Words have power. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm presenting you this, right?
Oh yeah, see, Amanda want to snap to that. She know what I'm talking about.
Because that's a good point. Because a lot of her fan base is
They are white, no
white,
bullshit.
and she is saying that yes. So yeah.
So like take the musicality away from it.
But
Niggas ain't
was
shit.
he
Niggas
talking
ain't shit.
about
Run up into your
that,
crib.
or
Still
was
a
he
black
being
woman,
like?
though.
Because
Okay,
we
hold
need
on,
some
right?
clarification.
It was both points. Cause then I was like, it's the same shit as the FNF song that Glorilla has. And he was like, I don't identify as a fuck nigga, so it doesn't really matter.
That is true.
But
You
he
did say
then
that,
he was
no
like,
bullshit.
I'm a
You
nigga.
did
So if
say
you're
that.
saying
Gorilla's
niggas ain't
audience
shit,
is also predominantly black.
Bro, I feel like these.
And I fuck
Both
niggas
points-
different.
You can't split hairs
but
like
fuck
that,
niggas
though.
different than
Right.
niggas though. Is it not? You are talking about it.
Fuck niggas. Yes, there's a difference.
These are not
There's
just
a
niggas.
difference.
That's all I'm
There's a difference.
saying.
Or
She's
Roberta,
saying
right?
fuck niggas versus ain't shit niggas. I'm like,
No. That is a different. It's not ain't shit niggas, blah, blah, blah. It's saying niggas ain't shit. All niggas. You feel me? That's how I'm assuming. When you say men
Y'all
hate
niggas,
women,
all
all
A fuck
women,
nigga
all
to
men.
me is a nigga that's like out here just doing fuck
And
shit.
I don't identify
but
that. But I
ain't shit
identify as a
niggas
nigga.
is
though.
like
He's
they
like,
come up
identify
in
as a
your
man.
Identify as
crib,
nigga.
all up in your
Fridge.
fridge, can't pay rent.
no bullshit.
Like those are like the hobosexuals is what we call those because no, for real, because you need a home, so you're a hobosexual. That means you getting
You're
it.
going to anywhere where
That's
a home will put you.
Absolutely,
someone will put you in a home.
that's ain't shit.
Y'all know some homosexuals?
Wait, hold on, right?
I will not
The
comment
statement
on
is
that.
men hate women, right?
Yeah. Why do men hate women?
Do you not believe in the fact that all white people are inherently racist?
Whoa,
Yes or no?
that turned left.
No, but hold on. There's a connection here.
Hold on.
Because do men not also have the same privileges and benefits that certain white people do?
But there's
Which is
a
why
key,
they're inherently racist.
There's a key word in everything you're saying, right?
Yeah.
You're saying inherently racist. Now, if you said all
You
white
are
people are
inherently a
racist,
man.
no,
Or as a man, you inherently have like these tendencies. It's one of the things. Like
I
there's
don't
a lot
like the
of
word
unlearning.
inherently because
No,
I
but
was
that's
get
what I'm
away
saying,
with it.
like,
Do you think they're like? Are you guys saying they're
argument on
innate?
one side.
Are they
You feel me?
innate or
Yeah.
are they taught? That's the
I
question.
think that is taught. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of unlearning that has to be done in order
sure.
for
I agree with
men
that.
to like value women the same way that they value other men. And I
But
think that in this moment,
I think
what I
why-
was presented with was a bunch of men that do not value women in the same
Yes.
or like hold them in the same esteem as they hold other
and they
men.
deserve to be called out. I only think it's dangerous because, especially on Twitter, there's a very popular discourse where it's like,
Well, Twitter's not
men
real
are
life.
this, women are. It's the public square of the internet. It's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, this
Yeah.
a nigga bought it
Yeah.
for $40 million. It clearly
Okay,
means
Elon.
something, my nigga.
Okay, Elon.
But the point is, it's like you're kind of like feeding into that rhetoric of like dividing men and women, and I feel like we want to bridge the gap. We want to make men and women love each other,
But do you
bro.
think that bridge could ever be like?
Yes.
Women already love men, bro.
Is that not the? Huh?
Women already love men, bro.
Not all of them.
I'm
but
hurt.
I feel you for the,
But
for
I
the
think
most
the
part.
thing
Yeah.
is that you can.
But I think
you're
most
more,
men
you're
love
more
women.
likely. You're more likely to find a man that doesn't like value women on the same level as men.
Yes,
as a
because of
woman
the
that
system.
doesn't value.
Yes,
Exactly.
because of the
So
system.
and so when I say stuff like that, it's like I get that you want me to like change the verbiage around it, but like I'm personally not gonna do that. Like until like this discourse like begins with we want to see people on the same page, holding men accountable. You feel me? A lot of times when it comes to like people who are kind of like in that very like outward facing like realm of like misogyny, like they don't hear you until you like call them out as like a general populace. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like all of us have
So
like
I noticed that you do that.
Yeah.
You'll say the flagrant things that are like catch attention, and it's like, oh, now that we're all here at the
Exactly.
table,
Now there's
let
like
me-
nuance to be brought to the table, but of course it starts with bringing people in. We just had that conversation
We
like
did.
the other day when we were talking about Kai and them. You feel me? It's like a lot of times like people will like do things even though it's like blatantly out of their character, out of their culture to do because of like other things that are like, you know, trickling in. And for a lot of men, it's like they'll go to the police again, like I was talking about before. They'll go to the police like when it comes to like sexual assault with women specifically, because like even though like inherently like they know shit not like nothing's gonna happen if they do that. You feel me? But it's like a way to like save
Exactly.
themselves in that way, or like alleviate themselves of accountability. You feel me? And that's not okay, but it still happens. You feel me? And it's like when it comes down to certain situations, I think that a lot of men need to hear like that kind of like that trigger, like whatever it is that triggers to them that like something is wrong here before they can like actually engage in that conversation, especially around misogyny. Cause like the shit, like you said, we live in a cis heteronormative society. Like shit's always gonna like favor like straight men, and like if
Straight white men,
straight white,
specifically.
exactly, right? And like if we're not
that's
able to like
built.
have those conversations, then I feel like if we're not even to get people at the table or get them through the door, we're not gonna be able to do it. Nothing's gonna change.
Exactly, because if he specifies that group, nobody's gonna associate themselves with that group. If you be like, this
Facts.
specific group of people hate women, every man is gonna look at that and be like, that's not me.
Facts. I
So,
can be like, oh,
that's
why
me.
why
Like
do
what
these
you
two
fell
men hate
into
women?
with fuck nigga shit. That's what with the FNN and the ain't shit. That's exactly what you did. You said, well, I'm not a fuck nigga. So you automatically dismissed whatever was being said.
And what did Kai say when he went to his friend after he did that shit? He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. That couldn't have been me. Like shit like that. It's like, you know, no one never gonna do that. You feel me? Because it's like it's alleviating themselves of that accountability, even though it needs to be had.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think the only thing, I think outside of that, in just general, I think the world is getting more black and white in the sense of like it's extremes. We're dealing with extremes now because it's like it's easier to process things when it's like you're all in this way or you're all in this way, and like the gray area is kind of like removing itself slowly. It's like, oh, you not all the way on this team, then you must be all the way on that team. And I don't want to get into
there's nuance, but also I'm a man, bro, and I'm the one that's saying like I'm asking the question: why do men hate women?
So why are you a traitor to your? I'm playing, bro.
But I think I'm asking that question because it's like I recognize like misogynistic tendencies in myself. You feel me? And that's what I mean. It's like a lot of unlearning where it's like I don't want to like feel this way. I don't want to be this way. I see the impact of my actions, so I want to change. And a lot of other men, they don't have that same level of like self accountability.
With that said, right?
They'll just sit with it and be like, well, they'll be like, oh, actually, they won't even sit with it. They'll be like, nothing's wrong. Like, what are you talking about? I see everybody do this all the time. Like, it is what it is.
Yo.
I don't care how you feel.
And you know what? Maybe the strategy was successful because it clearly made me want to bring it up on the pod. Now we having a conversation, and now even the men who wouldn't have addressed the conversation.
Huh? If asked the question, do you hate women? Would you say yes?
I wouldn't say that I hate women, but I would say that I have misogynistic tendencies.
Do you inherently hate women?
And that's like,
do you inherently hate women?
I think like as a man born to like a cis heteronormative society, yeah.
Okay.
Right. But again, that's where the unlearning comes in. And I don't have a problem with saying yes to that question and then working with that. You feel me? Because it's like you have to be able to like admit that something's wrong before you can fix it.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. It's just accountability, bro. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like it shouldn't be scary. It's not like I'm not about to be persecuted for saying like, yes, like every other man that is born into the same society, I have this issue as well.
But why do you think people have a problem with just being themselves and taking accountability in a public platform?
I think it's scary, like for them, because like they're like, it's like you
have to admit that you did something wrong.
Exactly, facts. And it's like a fear.
So what's wrong with that?
Niggas don't like shame and feeling like I did this. Like if a nigga steal and get caught, he feel bad. If you steal and get away with it, he's like, yo, this shit lit. Because it's just like, either way, you did the action, stand on what you did. That's all. Going back to what I was saying, people don't stand on their word. It's like, okay, it's okay to stand on your word. If you were wrong, just be like, yeah, I was wrong in this moment. And this is how I want to learn and grow from it.
Facts.
And growth is just uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think we're also taught from a young age that like making mistakes is not okay. And I mean, for a lot of people, it's like when they make mistakes, they're met with like,
especially in the black community, because we get beat for it.
I was gonna say whether it's like physical force against us, or even like that like shame that we get brought on from like our family. Like, and I think like in a lot of like Asian cultures as well. I was talking about this with some folks that I work with too. Is like they'll be like, oh, like just kill yourself. Like that'll be their hope. They're like, you brought shame on the whole family, you brought shame on the whole village. Like you do not need to be here anymore. Like your life will be taken, or you can take care of yourself.
You're saying they're not being sarcastic at all.
No. They were dead ass, and they're like, either you're gonna kill yourself or we're gonna kill you.
Did you
because you made a mistake? And I'm like, damn.
The video on like bullying in Korea and shit, and they was talking about how it gets mad severe, like to like bullying up here. We'll see it portrayed in movies as like getting stuffed in a locker and shit. Yeah. Down there, they was like burning cigarettes into the other students.
Like, they was stabbing her.
Type shit. Like, it was. I don't know.
But it's like, but that's the thing. It's like I feel like a lot of times our societies, like the different cultures that we're a part of, it doesn't like allow us space to make mistakes. There's no grace. You know what I mean?
No, that's very, very true. There is not enough grace or mindfulness for folks to, and it's like, that's where I think cancel culture was like birthed out of, was like exactly that. Like you should be shamed and ostracized for your mistake until we feel, or enough time has gone by where we forget and you can come back in. Yeah. And it's like, that's
who's we and when do you get to decide that we're enough time has gone by.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
So that's a real conversation. Like we have conversations like this all the time, like about community and like not only just taking accountability, but what does accountability look like? What does restorative justice look like? What does transformative justice look like? Because you can say somebody did something incorrect or just made a mistake, but it's like, how much time do we measure like that this person should pay for that? We see even within our own prison system, like people are still paying for their mistakes even after they do their time.
Spoke on that 2 episodes ago.
It was you that was speaking on that.
Yeah, no, I said like, yo,
these sentences is egregious.
Yeah, like I can't justify someone being in jail for 10 years. I even like maybe not the most egregious shit, like serial offenders and stuff like that, but like making one mistake and like your whole life is gone. Like basically.
Yeah, and repeatedly gone because you come out and you don't even have a chance to really be rehabilitated, right? Or depending on who you are, what your support system, you're gonna get back to the thing that potentially put you in there. Potentially, you know what I'm saying? And that's the problem that I think we have is like you said with the Black community, as far as like just the shame. Sometimes I feel like that's where that lack of accountability can come from. But then if you take it even further, it's like, well, how are everybody else supposed to feel safe with this person who made a mistake? How do they get to be in these rooms and feel like they're in spaces with this person and still feel safe, or that person in the room who made the mistake feels safe because they're still a person. Like just because somebody made a mistake don't mean you got to throw the whole person away. Like that's not even feasible. And we have to give I don't want to say time because that's a social construct, but we have to give a chance for them to not only redeem themselves, but to show change behavior. And I use redeem very, very loosely, but show change behavior.
Are you a forgiving person?
I'm very forgiving.
Is there like anything where it's like, nah, you crossed the line. I can't associate you for life. Like you cut off my life. Because I remember it was Johnny or was it someone had tweeted, it was just like, how do you tell someone that you don't want to like associate with them anymore? How do you go about it?
It was Johnny. Yeah.
I'm just upfront about it. It's like, and I say this and I come very much with like accountability. I've done some shitty shit to people in this community. I won't get into the things that I've done, but I have done some really shitty things. And I've also made mistakes with people. I've mishandled situations. I've mishandled people. So I look at it like, one, that's why I'm so forgiving, because I'm like, I'm not the same person that I was when I was doing these things. I had to unlearn some of the behaviors that I was going through and some of the things that I was shown as a child, like to get that up out of me because I thought they were healthy and they weren't. So there's that. But then also like having a conversation, like we're human beings. Like, why am I going to hold any type of energy in my spirit when you come up? Because that's still so much power. Energy out of you, and that's and I'm giving you power. If me and you don't fuck with each other and you come in the room, now all of a sudden, what am I going to do? And like niggas is already knowing we don't fuck with each other. So then it's like, it's just an energy shift. And that's okay. I could sit uncomfortable with that in that moment if I have to. I'm a very professional person. At the same time, like for why? Like if you didn't do nothing too crazy, like we could have a conversation and also agree to be like, yo, I still don't fuck with you. But when I see you, it's peace. It's not none of that rah shit. I didn't wake up and choose violence and then see you in the street. And I think sometimes, you know, people don't want to take that stance. They don't want to have a conversation for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? Mostly has to do with them. But also people don't want to take a fucking accountability. Like, nigga, you wronged me. Like, tell me in my face what you did. And like, I'll respect it and I could move through that. But like you sitting there being like, but nah, like, and having mad excuses and
justify it.
Like, and trying to justify your actions. It's like, bruh, I don't got time for that shit. We gonna hate each other forever. And like, I don't even want to say hate because I don't hate nobody. I have no bad blood towards anybody, for real. I'm just like, yo, I don't fuck with you. You don't fuck with me. Stay over there.
And it's so ego driven. Like I remember times where like my mom and her friend, like they not on speaking terms, right? And like I can't see my favorite cousin now or something like that. And it's like,
it's possessive.
I'm not calling her because she ain't calling me. And then the other person's thinking, well, I'm not calling her because she's not calling me. And then whoever ends up, you know, extending like the olive branch, like everything's back to normal then. Like
it's definitely
and
ego.
It's all ego.
But like why? When we share space, like especially in a city like Boston where we all know somebody that knows somebody, or 2 degrees of separation, sometimes not even 2. It's like, why have that type of mentality? I had an experience where I don't particularly like this person don't like me. We see each other at an event and like they're staring me down the whole fucking time. And I'm just like, damn nigga, like that's mad energy for you to come up in here weird. And just be ice grilling me the entire time.
With that, it'd be like, they be staring at you because they like, are you going to say hi? And then you probably stare back like, are they going to say hi? And then it just be like,
I don't give a fuck about none of that shit.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
nah.
Yeah, they just be
Be like, we don't gotta be friends.
Like, we really
also
don't.
don't have to like hate each other.
Hold that animosity.
But I'm also not gonna be fake and come up to you and say hi. I don't give a fuck who's around me.
You can just be indifferent. There's nothing wrong with being just indifferent. We don't all gotta be friends and buddy.
No, I used to operate out of that space of being like afraid of that. Like, oh my God, I don't want anybody to know that I'm not getting along with someone. And like, I always used to feel like that. And I'm like, nah, fuck all that shit. Like, if first of all, it's nobody's business why we don't fuck with each other. Facts. You know what I'm saying? Me and you both know the truth, and it is what it is. Like, I understand, like, we're humans. Like, not everybody going to jail with each other, and that's okay. But what I'm not gonna do is see you and be like, oh, hey, just because the cameras is on. Like, fuck all that shit. Like, you feel away because I'm walking in and I see you and I don't dap you up. That says everything about you and your ego. If you want to start some shit after that, or you want to ice grill me in a space that got nothing but 240 kids, pause, because that's crazy to me. I'm just wild. Like, how you got all this energy and there's nothing but children around? So that says everything about you than it does about me. We good.
Things.
Yeah.
We good.
I love that mentality though of like, I'm not so quick to like feel like people are unforgiving because I know I'm not the same person I was some time ago, and I know that I can change. So what makes me think that they can change as well? And I also am a big believer, like, don't go throwing stones, and if you know you're not prepared to get stones thrown at your glass house.
There's a lot of those that throw the rocks and hide their hands out here. And it's like, oh, well, this person and so did this, but it's like, but you're not telling the whole story. Like, just tell the truth. Like, if you're gonna say something, say the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, I've had so many issues sometimes that I internalize everything. Also, like, closure ain't always a thing with niggas. You don't always gonna be having a conversation with people and be okay with that. I've had to do my own work around those feelings because the person don't want to do the work with me, and that's okay too. But what I won't tolerate is like people just being around with this negative energy and like don't know what to do with it, so they just carrying it around and making it weird for everybody else. It's like, nah, do your work.
And a lot of it, like I said, it's a lot of ego because it's like even that person who stares you down and is waiting for you to make a move or something like that. It's like they're probably creating a whole storyline in their head. Like, oh, I bet she went over there so she could do like they come up with shit in their head and it's
nobody's
like,
thinking about you.
Oh, exactly.
I'm not even thinking about you.
And it's the same way, like, you know, like family members. Like if they don't call, I don't be tripping. I know you got a life. I hope you assume the same thing as me. If I don't call all the time as much as I want to, don't think it's like I got smoke with you. Like, nah, I just sometimes life be lifing, and we owe it to each other to give you know the same grace that you would want people to give you. You got to give to other people.
Absolutely. 100% again, no one's perfect, so that's why I'm like, I'm a forgiving person because I understand nobody's perfect, and people could really learn from their mistakes. At the same time, just because you are a changed person doesn't allow you permission to come back into my life either, though. Big too, facts. And that's another part. Like people be like, "Oh, well, I've changed," but it's like that's not same, right. It's not the same.
You changed, and so have the situation.
Absolutely. No, so that doesn't grant you access back in, and like that's okay too. Like you gotta do the work. That's it.
For real.
Do the work.
Do you guys agree that like deep down everybody just wants to be liked?
Yes.
You know, it might be to a varying degree for everybody, because I feel like there's some people, I don't give a fuck what anybody think. Like, but I don't think that's true.
Yeah, but that's a lie. That's just insecurity.
Super cap.
Everybody want to be liked by somebody, but I don't think everybody want to be liked by everybody. So I don't tell you shit. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
For the most part, yeah.
Because some people really don't care about like what anybody thinks of them, as long as like there's like the couple people that's in their life. Yeah. That's all that really matters to them. You feel me? And
that's real too.
Those people stop liking them. They're like, oh shit, something gotta change.
Well, you usually the common denominator. If that's the case, I mean, it's hard. It's isolating, you know. But I feel like we all learn at different paces. So like what you may be unlearning and need to learn may take somebody else quicker to do it or even longer to do it. And like, that's okay. But again, like I think that the world is lacking grace. It's like, you really don't know what people are going through. And like you sit there and you make like, cause for instance, say say the person that mugged me at that event really just wasn't having a good day, but like because I know there's like some tension, I could have viewed that from a space of like, oh, this motherfucker in here ice grilling me the whole time. Meanwhile, their car might have broke down. Yeah, so nigga might be acting up.
I like that. You know what I'm saying?
Or their girl might be acting up. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know what the situation is. So it's like it's based everything. We're such selfish individuals because we perceive everything from us first without ever thinking about the other person. And it's wild crazy to me because I'm like, if you just took that out of it, like, and was able to look at it from another person, 9 times out of 10, that shit that you're feeling wouldn't even be a feeling.
It's made up. It's a storyline in your head.
Like, what was the thing we were talking about? Like that baseline of empathy. You feel me? Like I feel like people like oftentimes like just lose that whenever they're dealing with things or like something like impacts them and they're like, oh, I didn't like that. You know what I mean? I'm like,
they thinking about their feelings.
You feel me? And I'm like, yo, like if you like kept that like just baseline, just being like, I am dealing with another human being right now, like shit would go a lot smoother.
Yeah,
like you said,
I just emotional intelligence is really what it is. That's the word that I use when I'm like, people sometimes don't exercise their emotional intelligence because it's like if somebody step on your sneaker and you just wild out, it's like that. Are you really practicing emotional intelligence? Because in that moment, I think about all the things that could happen. I'm like, damn, I could punch this nigga for stepping on my shoe. This nigga could punch me back. This nigga could have 5 niggas on the other side of the door that I don't even see. This nigga could have a gun in the car over there. Oh shit, the cops could actually be called and like, this is my homegirl's party. This is the first time she threw a party over here. And what does this mean for the culture and the black people? Like that's how my no dead ass, like that's how fast my mind works in those situations because you have to think about everything and you're not gonna think about everything. So it's like, what's the best thing? All right, nigga, I'm gonna swallow my pride. And I'm just, it's cool. Like, no worries. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really what it comes down to.
True.
You'd avoid a lot of bullshit if you just practice emotional intelligence because it's not just you and like this nigga might be banging out. It's like everybody else who's attached to this one moment.
Yeah, that's why I can't get when niggas be like, when niggas be holding grudges for like years at a time. I be like, damn. Like over like small shit. It'd be like you said, like something like, oh, a nigga stepped on my shoe. I was like, damn. Grow up, nigga. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you, nigga. Even fit that shit anymore. Like, you even wear them shits anymore? Like, no, because that nigga stepped on them.
How long is long, though? Like, how long is long? Like, do you think a year is a long time to hold a grudge, or does it depend on, like, the situation?
It's basis.
Yeah,
it's like basis by basis.
Circumstance, but context changes a lot.
Yeah,
like, personally, for any of y'all, is there anything that made y'all hold a grudge on somebody? Like, nah, it's really fuck that person.
Nah. No, I've held grudges in the past.
There was one person who had me feeling that way.
I totally have.
But I definitely let all the grudges go. I told you about Keith from fucking middle school.
He did tell us about that.
Yeah, bro. I still don't fuck with Keith. You feel me? But I'm not like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck this nigga if I see this nigga, it's on site. I was like that, though. No bullshit. But I had to, like, think. I'm like, why? Like, why do I care so much about some shit that happened, like, 15 years ago, nigga?
Why did you care? Like, can you break that down real quick? Why did you care so much?
I think I cared a lot at the time because it was like,
for the new listeners, who's Keith?
So Keith is this kid that I went to middle school with, 6th and 7th grade. And he was like my arch nemesis and during that time. Because he would do so many greasy things to me and like get away with it. But if I try to do it to him, I wouldn't get away with it. You feel me? And it felt like kind of like Batman and the Joker, where it's like, they're both wrong, no bullshit. But Batman be getting away with the shit.
Is this a mutual kind of thing? Like,
yes, he also did not rock with me. And that's why he kept doing the shit to me. Because he was like, yeah.
But you were the Joker in his story though. That's the difference.
Exactly, right? And it's like, sometimes
different perspectives.
Sometimes I feel that like sometimes the villain in the story, like oftentimes is like misunderstood and different things like that. Yeah. But in these instances, it was like stuff like this where it was like he was homosexual and like at the time, like there was a time where he was like, we had like cubbies and like closets and stuff like that to put our stuff in. He was inside the closet putting his coat away, and my tutor was like, yo, Keith, get out of the closet. And like he laughed, he to himself, my tutor, he was like and I was like, oh, I guess that is kind of funny. And then he gave me a demerit for laughing. But I was like, nigga, you're laughing. And that's not Keith's fault, right? Keith had nothing to do with that. But I'm just seeing how like he's connected to that situation because I'm getting like punished for like something that someone else is doing, but it's related to Keith. Then there was time when the nigga, he was just doing grease shit. He'd lick his hand and put his hand on my food, weird shit. And I'm just like, I don't like you. And then I would like knock the shit over, like get the shit out of my face. Like you're not about to feed me some food that you just fucking licked your hand and put on my table. And then like I would get in trouble for flipping out at that nigga, but nothing would happen to him. And I'm like, this is weird, bro. I got suspended for wiping barbecue sauce on a nigga after he spit on my food.
Wow.
And like, I'm getting in trouble. And I'm like, how? This nigga's doing me grease left and right. You feel me? And so I was frustrated about that because I'm like, now it just showed like it's a reminder, like constant reminder that like shit's not fair. You feel me? And so like he's like,
do you know what he's up to now?
Nah, it doesn't really matter to me. You feel me? And that's why I was like, why do I care so much? Like, it really doesn't like this doesn't impact me anymore.
Find
you feel
them,
me?
bro.
Yo,
this is just like lessons
we
I have to
gotta
learn.
surprise
You gotta
him.
record it. You just have to sit down and be like,
Yo,
so what are you up to now?
Nate
But
addressing
that's the
Keith.
thing.
We gotta get him on the podcast.
Yo,
Gotta
Keith,
get
if you
Keith on the
watching this,
podcast.
yo,
Shit.
hit up, DM us. We gonna set this up.
bullshit.
And we gonna have this one-on-one meeting on some
We gonna
Diane
have some
Sawyer
barbecue sauce there too.
Oh yeah, get your reparations, Keith.
Get your whoa.
Nah, we ain't
whoa,
trying
whoa.
to trigger him
But
with the
I'm
barbecue
But
sauce.
I'm saying this to say that like I was like a kid. You feel me? We were both like children. You feel me? So like shit like that. It
Which
really
is
did
why
not
I'm
matter
disappointed
in the
in you,
grander
bro.
scheme of all the shit.
Disappointed
In the
me.
growing
Yeah.
age of 23 years old, he said, "Oh, he's spitting his food." You was like, "Should have smacked that nigga."
Back then.
But that's what I'm
Back
saying,
then, bro.
You feel me? Right?
Back then.
But then I like the barbecue
No
sauce
emotional
on him,
intelligence
and then
in
my
that
tutor is
moment.
like, "Oh, if I was him, my tutor was like, oh, if I was him, I would have fought you. You can't be wiping
How
barbecue
old are
sauce
you?
on people." I was, I think, 12.
Oh, that's a little kind of old. I think something like 6, 7 years old.
No, I was
bro.
like,
6, 7
I
years
was
old.
like,
Like, shit's not
a
that old.
6-year-old is in middle
12 is
school.
still. Nah, I feel you. I didn't get I wasn't even listening to that part of the story. No bullshit.
But I was like 11, 12. And it's like, but the thing is that like I'm being told like, oh, if you did that to me, I would have fought you. But I'm like, nigga, what? This is me fighting back against the shit he's doing to me. All this to say, like, some shit is not worth it. You feel me? Some shit, like, looking back on it is like, why do I care so much about this? You feel
Yo,
me?
99.9% sure that you are a super villain in Keith's mind, bro.
Hey, fuck it.
You did something way before you even acknowledged it that made him feel this way this whole time.
Do you think he got
Probably.
away with the stuff because he was gay?
I
This
don't
is a
know.
part of you.
I don't think so.
It feels
I
like a
think
part
it's
of you.
because
I
he
was
sneaky
gonna
with it.
ask that, or I was gonna ask like what is it? Was there some type of privilege you felt like he had over you? Because it's giving like I had
Maybe.
a grudge.
Was he
Because
light skinned?
Nah.
I didn't.
I think it was that he was like sneaky
That would
with
explain
it.
so much.
Like I think he was sneaky with it. You feel me? And like I was more overt with the shit that I would do to him, where he would do shit and no one would see it, but I would do shit and like all eyes were on me. Because there was also a time where like he like knocked my shit off my desk one time. Like he like walked over and like knocked all my papers off my desk, and like then he was like, "Oops," and then the teacher was like, "Oh, like no, whatever." Like keep
It's the
pushing
oops for me.
type shit. And I'm like she was watching him do it. So I'm like, you clearly saw this nigga do that shit on purpose. It wasn't even actually. It was Mr. Kearns, nigga, history or. Yeah, I think he was a history teacher or something like that.
Be the
But
history
the
teacher, no
nigga,
bullshit.
he knocked shit on my, and I'm like, bro, you seen him do that, bro. And he was just like, oh, like it was an accident. He said it was an accident, like whatever, just let it go. And I'm like, no, nigga, because now he's not even picking my shit up. I gotta pick it up myself and organize it. And I'm like, nigga, I'm not doing well with this class.
Re-triggered this nigga.
And
Bro.
then-
Like he's back into
And then I walked over to his shit. I picked up his like papers and I just put them on the floor right and like in front of his desk. And then the teacher was like, "That's a disrespect, Demary. You can't be knocking people's stuff over." I'm like, say a word. Like I did it in the most respectful way I could to like get mine back. You feel me? But like shit like that. You feel me? But it's like at the end of the day, like I said, like looking back on all the shit, it's just like I know why I was frustrated in the moment, and I like have no reason to be like frustrated about it. Like I could be frustrated about how I felt, but not frustrated like with him still to this day. You feel me? Like type shit. Whereas like if I seen a nigga, I'd probably be like, "Yo, that's wild. I did not expect to run into you ever again." But shout out to you. You know what I mean? Real nigga, and just keep pushing.
Do you think cancel culture is real, Amanda? Because they say cancel culture is not real. I think the opposite.
I don't believe in cancel culture.
You don't believe, but is it real?
You know, it's like Santa Claus.
I don't know. Is it real? I think it's like real online. Like it exists in the world of
That's what you said.
social
How
media.
real
Is
is
not
online?
real.
If we talking about
not
like
real.
we move
It's not real.
It's real online,
because
but
Peep
internet
Game,
not
like
real.
the baby,
Online.
was
Okay.
supposedly canceled. But this nigga got mad people at his shows. Like,
But I don't
what are
think
we talking
cancel
about?
means
not
like
real.
for life.
I
It just means for a period
but
of
when
time,
they,
like
but
you
when
said.
they were saying he was canceled, you saw in real life that didn't
Nah,
like
he was in
mimic
the
real.
cheesecake trying to sell 2-for-1s.
No,
That's
he
still-
was not. He was
Yes.
trolling.
Oh, he's trolling. You
yeah,
sure?
he's trolling.
It sounds
He's-
way more fun in my storyline
No,
that I
he's
created.
he's totally trolling
one
to make you
problem.
believe that this is
Like
the
he's
culture.
down bad,
Yeah,
I
like
feel
he's
you.
down bad. Y'all are all laughing at him, and meanwhile, he's like, I still got people at my shows.
If you ain't in prison, I feel like you're not canceled.
That's what we be saying. That's what we be saying. It's like the only real like cancellation is
Oh,
like prosecution.
damn.
That's the only thing that we've
even
seen.
that, I don't feel like you can. I feel like there's like one way to cancel.
I mean,
a
there's
nigga,
still
bro.
people bumping R.
Yeah.
Kelly.
It's like,
R.
yeah.
Kelly's in jail, and they're
That's
still
what I'm
bumping
saying.
him.
Like, you could
so
be in jail, you just in the jail, but like there's only
I
one
don't
way
know.
to cancel a person. Like
I don't place him in my wish, but you know.
He said, "There's only one way to really
at that
cancel."
point,
a
it's
nigga."
like, what can you do at that point?
I'm head.
It's nothing. So, but it's like, I don't feel like cancellation
That's
is real.
when
but that
my
doesn't mean
friends
that
come
people shouldn't
through
help.
with the artist Will, and they
People-
drop the diss tracks I've had in the tuck. Now we on you for
bullshit.
life.
Can we
nigga.
talk about that diss
That's
tracks?
Yo,
like
no bullshit.
diss tracks. That's a real thing.
Got some niggas in the room right now not trying to drop the
I'm
diss
saying,
tracks.
yeah, high key.
What make okay? Do
you
you drop names in a diss track? And if you don't, are you just subbing them at the end of the day?
I have no issue. I think some of the best raps are the subs, bro.
I think.
But the subs, you be knowing that they're geared like Kendrick's.
Are we speaking to the situation that you're speaking on? Where
are we talking in general?
The person's in the room. I feel like that does change it a little bit. If the person's in the room, it's like by all means you should just call them out. You feel me?
Oh
Say
damn!
to
You
them,
just brought that up, and that was supposed to be a behind the scenes conversation.
we'll
But
cut
now
that.
you're
We can cut that.
right.
We can cut that.
All right, no, you fine. We ain't cutting shit.
Oh,
but
we raw and authentic.
But then,
we raw and authentic.
I find it a little more impressive when the person is not necessarily subbing, but they're describing the person in a way where it's like you know exactly who it is without having to say the name.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
That
That's
to me
like
is like
nuance.
that's fine. You feel me?
But like, I feel like
Might as well just set the name at that
Because it's
point,
too
though.
direct.
I
Like,
feel
when
like
it's
if,
like direct,
if
they
it's
did say
that
the name just
direct,
in a
you might
clever
as
way.
well.
Name an example of when that was.
Yeah.
Drake's done that on like Two Birds and One Stone. You were the man on the moon. Now you just go through your phases. Life of the angry and famous.
Yeah,
and he's talking about Kid Cudi. That
You
was
feel me? Yeah.
fire.
I feel you, but that's also
Fight.
like calling him out directly
Right,
as well.
because
that
we
is
also
his,
knew
that is his nickname.
we
But that's
also
one
still
of
a
his
knew
monikers.
sub. Like it's
It's not really a sub.
That's
That's
It's
one
not
of
a
his
sub if
monikers.
we
Like
know,
that, I'm like,
if we
that's
know
fire.
who you're talking about. It's not a sub. I
that's
feel
one of
like
his
it's a sub
monikers,
when
though.
you don't know
I think
who the
it-
person
it's
So
is
in this
only
talking
case,
direct
about.
if
I
it's
don't
named.
like subs at all.
Okay.
I don't like when it's like discreet. I like it when it's clever.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that.
Yeah.
But I also think it's only direct if you say the name.
Nah. There could be some shit that could be direct without saying the name.
Like,
Because like the
fuck
man on the moon
Jay-Z,
thing, that's like a
that
double
shit
entendre. That's a double. That's
direct.
dead a double
That
entendre.
was direct.
You feel me?
You're
That's
like,
straight
damn.
to the point.
Like, I got you.
It's like if a nigga would be like, yo, like fuck the host of BFTC on some shit, like niggas who like.
Nah,
It's-
see,
they
I
don't
don't
have
think
to
that's
say your
clever.
name.
But if they is like talking on that podcast, talking all that trash, nigga, you was ass, nigga. Like I don't know.
You was
That
ass.
could be anyone.
That could be anybody,
Facts.
but to who knows, they know.
Did you not say that?
What?
Like, you wrote that at one point, right?
No, I didn't write that. That shit sounded horrible.
Just said,
boy.
no, I didn't write that.
I felt like he said something similar to
He's like, is that a recycled
someone
bar?
else.
I said, what's that about? I said, what?
You know what I'm referring to.
I know what you're referring
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I love subs, bro. Subs are amazing, bro.
But I'm saying, like, I feel like if you know, like we said, if you know who they're talking about, if it's very clear who they're talking about and it's done in a clever way, that's pretty direct. No bullshit.
Okay.
You know? And I personally think niggas should be doing that way more. The sub shit is corny to me. I feel like if you're gonna talk about somebody, like talk about them directly. Don't like talk
Should
about some,
you talk about their art though? Like if you're dissing someone, should you be dissing their art? Like
I feel
for
like
this-
only-
If I don't
Only
have
art
respect for that,
dissable?
if I
I
don't
don't
feel
know.
like
It's
it's
true.
for the art,
I
fuck
feel
it.
like that's subjective. You could find anything.
Facts.
Only if
That's
you feel like
true.
that's true. I feel like there's a lot of people out here that might do like diss songs and shit, and they still like the artist that they diss his music. Like if you don't, if like only if you actually don't fuck with it.
Wait, you give more grace to the art than the humanity? Like you could say, like I have no respect for this
'Cause
person,
what
but the
the art
art that's
do?
off limits. So
Because
I
what did
respect
the
that
art
shit.
do to me?
Wait,
saying.
hold on.
art is an
Y'all not
extension of
trying to
them.
do the artist.
I don't
Separate the
I don't
artist
separate
from the
art from
art.
the artist.
I don't either. So I was like, wait.
Sometimes.
Like, I just saw that video. Like,
Not when
never
your
that.
art imitates your life. Like
No,
R.
no.
Kelly, there's no separating that. Kanye, I can separate that.
How?
Now, if Kanye goes
That's a
and
bad
makes
example.
because I like Kanye.
no, if,
That's why.
That's what it comes down
No,
to. Because I like
Because you're
Kanye.
biased.
why.
Just say
Don't let
that.
me
Just
honest.
say that.
There
Just
is
say you're
bias.
That's what it
biased.
comes down to.
There
man.
is bias.
But
I
that's
will
the
admit that.
problem.
But-
That's why we have cancel culture, because niggas is biased. Like it's either if it's gonna be black and white, be black and white. Why
don't think
y'all
it should
niggas
be
got
black and
gray?
white.
But I'm just saying, it's like you can't be like, oh, I don't fuck with this person, but like Kanye, it's like
No, I can
that's
I
bias.
could
You
That nigga
moving the
Kanye-
goalpost for each artist, and that's what I'm saying. It's like
He
if
dropped
you're
the
I can
whole album.
denounce the
He
shit
dropped the
that
whole album about being bipolar, bro.
I don't listen to that album.
that was actually a fire
There's a
album.
couple songs in it that fire. I went
Yeah,
back.
it
I was
is.
like, I
It's
thought it was
a fire
ass. I
album.
went back. I'm like, this shit kind of hard.
No. You got Ghost
That
Town. You got
album
Ghost
was
Town.
fire.
and,
I haven't
uh,
listened to it since, but that's a good album though. That was my favorite Kanye album. Like I said,
Whoa.
why niggas always say
Wait,
that?
so wait,
That's surprising.
is that a sub or direct? When he was like, "Calm down, you light skin." Whatever that song.
Yeah.
Whatever that song
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Make no mistake.
That's more like
I
clever, I
put my
guess.
hands
It's not even
on the
clever. It's just-
stove.
It's direct, but
Direct.
like,
We know what light skin
it's
he's
not
talking
clever.
about.
I think it was I hate
508
bipolar. It's awesome.
I hate
or
being
it,
bipolar.
it was something like I forget the name of the album, but it was like something like
Well, it's
that.
just called Yay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he
on
had
the
on the
cover, it
mountains.
says,
yeah, it was like I hate
bipolar.
bipolar. It's awesome with like a blue cover with mountains.
Yeah, that album was hard.
Let me
though.
clarify, right?
The new one.
The reason I could say I can't separate a person like R. Kelly from the art is because I feel like when I'm listening to the art,
You
he's
can envision-
talking about these younger underage.
So then say
Kanye do the
that.
same thing.
But peep, you'll bump a nigga talking about he's smoking on who is so packed. And these are actual people, bro. That and you'll recite these lyrics.
He just don't know though.
Wait,
He don't
wait,
know
say
those
that one more
people.
time?
He know
Bro,
Aaliyah. nigga.
Pasto is a person, bro. Tuka are people, bro. These are people. How would you, bro? How would you feel,
We
bro?
ad-libbing
Type
this
shit.
man's name. This is bad, bro.
Yikes.
Bro, you feel me? These are people,
Damn.
bro. And that's niggas just need to understand where their morals lie for real.
I'm
'Cause-
human. I am not perfect. I have biases. I can admit that. I'm a
Still
work in
gonna- you still
progress.
gonna bump it? What's the next step for you, my
I'm a
brother?
work in progress, bro. I'm a work
Yeah,
in
I'ma still
progress.
bump that shit.
What's the next step for you, my
Wow,
brother?
he said,
But that's the
still
thing,
bump
though.
that
That's the
shit.
thing. I feel like it's also before you found out about the R. Kelly shit. Was you listening to R. Kelly's music?
Not really.
So it's not a
shit.
problem for you.
But if
But the thing
Kanye
is-
dropped a new
But
album,
if I
and
was
the
gonna
rhetoric,
say, if it's
the-
Kanye though, are you
it depends what
bumping
the
it?
rhetoric in the album is. If the rhetoric is different,
You gonna bump it either way
Type
because you
shit,
biased.
You gonna
I
listen
have a
to it?
podcast on, and
Absolutely.
I gotta talk about
You're
these
gonna
things.
listen. You're gonna listen regardless.
Nigga, stand on that shit, bro. You want to listen to it?
You're
you
gonna
wanna
listen
to it.
regardless.
If it's
When that
ass,
nigga
it's
dropped
ass.
that
I'm not
one
listening
song,
to it
it
again.
was
You
good.
understood? You still bumped it though the first time.
What was that one song he
So,
dropped after the
What's
fucking
my 1%
interview?
of a cent gonna do? Come on.
If
Don't do that.
If everybody thinks like that, then he
Right.
gonna be rich forever.
I know. I'm
Right.
the guy who like litters like
True.
it's just one piece of
That's
paper.
true.
For real, rich forever though. That's facts.
Yeah. Damn.
I don't know. I know what you're talking about, Eves. Though he dropped a song afterwards where it was like, had
That
the
sample
sample.
The song
was
wasn't crazy, but the beat was a force. I played that shit back a couple times. Like, hey man, this shit, yeah, bro.
That nigga said, "I'm running this up."
Okay, but what
He
if
said,
you run
"Fuck
it
it, I like
back,
the
but
beat."
like you do it through like piracy? Could do that.
You're
guess,
still
bro.
supporting the artist, regardless if
No.
you're putting the
'Cause you
money
gonna talk about
directly
it.
or
Because
not.
you're gonna talk about it.
And hiding.
You gonna talk about it though.
I'm taking the next step.
What's it gonna be?
Stop listening to Tory Lanez.
Oh, you're still listening to
Congratulations.
Tory?
So I have no problem doing that.
Congratulations.
I was about to say,
bro.
if you was bumping it before, nigga, I don't even know,
I
bro.
was about
Come
to say,
on,
look,
man.
God, it's not like the nigga was making groundbreaking music.
Trick Say
bro.
5 was fire.
I wouldn't know.
I-
Don't take that away. Don't take that away.
Literally some
So
grand
yeah.
statement. What is it? Chicks tape?
Chick Say
He
5.
said Chicks tape 5 was fire. Be
I
like,
wouldn't know,
I'll
man.
take your word
But how
for
would
it.
you not know that happened before the situation?
Because
I've never
niggas
listened to
don't
the
bump him,
begin with.
bro.
Okay,
I
so
never
you
bumped
just,
Tory Lanez.
it's
That's
just
why for
ignorance.
me it's not even a
ignorance.
problem.
okay.
Nah, the nigga's not that good, bro.
No.
He's smooth,
He
but it's
took,
like
preference.
he took
You know, it'd be
the
generic
best
music, bro.
2000s hits.
Again,
He
you're speaking on
flipped
preference
them,
right now.
and
It's
then
not
he had
ignorant.
those
He
artists
flipped them.
on those songs. That's actually an amazing
Wow.
concept. Shut up. Be quiet, bro.
he said no. He's like, you just don't
He took
understand.
I'm Sprung, flipped it, put T-Pain on
Nah,
it.
brother, you just rock with Canada heavy,
Foolish had Ashanti on the
Can I ask you a
remix.
question?
He
Is it better
flipped
than
it, and then Ashanti
Lloyd,
was
you
on.
is it better than the
flipped it,
original?
had Lloyd and Lil Wayne
Is
on
it better than the original?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
if you
some of them are
nah,
great
that Say It
variations.
record, If You Love Me by Brownstone was a classic. He should have left that shit alone.
Okay,
Leave it
I'll give you-
alone.
but Take Me Down. He flipped that, got Chris Brown. That shit's still fire. Both of them can
Two of them
coexist.
So
Yes.
basically, he just sampled.
Chris
That's
Brown
what
and
you're,
Tory.
and you're calling it revolutionary because he sampled.
It's that he
Calling
did
it
it
revolutionary because he
throughout
rock
a
with
whole
him.
album.
It's
I don't
called a
rock with
revolutionary
that.
because he
Don't put that
likes
on my
it.
head.
It's called a revolutionary
You
because he
said it was
likes it, bro. That's why, because he
You
likes
said
it.
it was fire.
Because unbiasedly, it's fire. It dropped before.
So you rock with
no.
it?
Because that'd be switching up and that'd be mad
You
fake.
rock
If
with it,
I
though.
was like in 2018 when I heard the album,
feel
like
you, I
this
feel
shit's
you.
hard, and now the whole trial happens,
like,
and
nah.
I'm gonna act like the shit not hard
Nah, that's
anymore.
real. Nah, that's
Come
real.
on.
That's real.
Hey, it just goes
I won't
to
be
show.
listening to his future. I don't know what Alone in Prom sounds like, but
Damn, you know the name?
I'm a music fan. I'm a music fan.
get the
Damn.
notification.
That's you don't know what they sound like, but you know what they're
Nah, it's
named.
smooth though. There's a lot. Hey, that's a step though. Like you
I
said,
hate.
that's a step though, man.
I'm trying to get there, bro.
You know, a lot of niggas still gonna bump the Tory Lanez music as it drops. They gonna be like, I don't believe that
Niggas
shit.
still bump R. Kelly, bro.
I
Type
mean,
shit. So, hey,
yeah,
man,
that
you do
part.
I know
something.
niggas.
That part.
How you hold
Trey
those
Songz
niggas to
too.
it?
Trey Songz is,
No, Trey
is,
Songz
Trey
is
Songz
sickos
is
out
still
here,
out
sicko.
here
Facts.
surviving
No bullshit.
until he got
Yeah,
kicked
nah,
off
that
at
shit's
50
crazy.
Cent's birthday party, but forever. I'm just saying, like,
Hey,
there's
yeah.
people still out here wanting to see that.
Are those situations of people who are like unforgiving?
Wait,
or
who?
is it more? I mean,
Trey
those
being a
situations-
They
predator?
gotta do the work first before they can
Trey,
even
right?
like.
He won't even admit
something
he's
like that,
doing
is there
this
work that
shit.
can be
Like
done?
he's not admitting.
Type shit.
Keke Palmer came out and like basically
But
said
it's
a
up
whole.
to Kiki to.
No, it's up to Trey to be like, yeah, these
I'm saying it's up
women
to
aren't
Kiki to like
lying.
decide when that forgiveness
Yeah, but like he's not even gonna get any
but
closer.
If he's not even gonna,
it doesn't even
what
start.
you're saying right there, if he doesn't take accountability, there's not even gonna be a step towards forgiveness at all.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Like you out here being like, these bitches is lying. That's his words, not mine.
Right?
He's like, oh, these bitches is lying. It's like, then where's the accountability? All these people are lying about you?
Yeah.
All
Ex's
of them?
mom said the same thing.
Come on, bro. Come
Bill
on.
Cosby, man.
Yeah,
Keke Palmer got nothing to gain from going on Breakfast Club and telling that story. But she's telling that story.
It only makes it worse, especially when you're a woman in that position. Like, you're now more difficult to work with or whatever.
Or you could be blackballed. Let's talk about it. Y'all talk about cancel culture, like blackballing ain't fucking out here alive and well.
The white director,
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, that's what he was doing to people.
You remember what when in the
So how about you?
Look at Me documentary
people?
that came out? The Look at Me documentary that came out when it was like ex's aunt and his mom, and then like the interviewer, and then like they were like interviewing him, and his aunt was like, "How do you expect like this young man to like grow into the person that you want him to be when you don't give him an opportunity to like seek forgiveness?" And then the interviewer and his mom was like, "Yeah," she was like crying, and then like the interviewer was like, "But like at the same time, like how can you expect him to like seek forgiveness when he doesn't admit that he did anything wrong?" And his mom was crying. She was like. I was like, no bullshit.
I
She was
love
like, that's
when the
facts.
parents take accountability too, because it's like, yo, again, like we choose when we move the goalpost. If it's somebody in our family, if it's somebody we fuck with,
like if it's
we
your kid,
do.
like you gonna want to cocoon them and like protect them no matter what. Like
nah, but if you do some shit, you do some shit. I have 2 sons, so I could speak on this highly. It's like if my sons, God forbid, were to do anything outlandish, it's not my job as a parent to protect them from something they did. It's to teach them that they need to own up to what they did and seek help, whatever that is and what that looks like for them, so that they cannot do this again and that they can feel safe and the society at large is as safe.
You gotta stand on it.
That's just what it is. It don't matter who it is. Like, and I think that's where we're at in this culture. It's like, that's why cancel culture exists. That's why you could still get blackballed. Like we're in that space where it's like with nepotism, with politics, with people, relationships and proximity. It's like, yo, people are going to decide who and when and how they want to cancel, blackball, or discredit somebody, regardless. Yeah. And we allow that shit. We literally watch that shit happen in front of our face, and then everybody starts fucking debating, and then it gets lost in translation. And then what happens? There's real no fucking solution. Like out of that Megan Tory shit, what's the real solution now? What are we gonna do when something like that happens again? I'll wait. No one talked about that because it's sensational to talk about the case itself and whether or not he did it and should we believe her and her sex life and all these other things that don't fucking matter. It's like, how do you address that in the grander scheme of our society if it happens again? And if ain't nobody got the answer, then we're not doing the work collectively and it's gonna keep continuing happening.
Do any of y'all have the answer?
Not right now, but I do think that it is like poignant to also observe that during that whole thing, that whole situation, there were a lot of people that are being like, let's wait for the trial, you feel me, type shit. And I think that's funny to me, not because like that was whatever, like, but it's like any other circumstance, like, you feel me, if it was like someone that they cared about or whatever, they wouldn't be saying like, wait for the trial.
Let's get the shit
Talk about it.
Maybe like we gotta do some shit, exactly, right? And I think like that's why it's like so important, like what Amanda's saying.
I have a solution. You know, we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI committees and stuff that are sitting around these tables, basically talking about the new age affirmative action. That's what it feels like for me. I'm gonna just be honest about it. It's like, why are we not having accountability, restorative and transformative justice circles, slideshows, things like that, like actual resources, terminology? Like we throw around fucking terms like narcissism and all this other shit around, but do people really know what the fuck those things mean? When I say transformative justice, do people know what that means? Do I say accountability? We know, okay, it's owning up, but like, what are all of the things that come with accountability? Because it's not just owning your mistake. It's also being like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with me? Or what the hell do I got going on internally that even made me go to this place? And that's the deeper conversations nobody wants to talk about. So like, we should be having committees, we should be having information, we should be having conversations around these types of conversations, so that around these types of subjects, so that people can have an idea, can recognize it, and then have a solution that will benefit people. It's like each one teach one. We going into schools with all this educational shit and all this other shit, but it's like, yo, where are we doing that work for society at large? because there's still people getting harmed in this community. And that's not a gender associated thing. It's just people in general being harmed. So how do we make sure that everybody feels safe? Not a selective group of people, not people who associate with certain types of cultures. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Period.
Yeah, I feel like that's a conversation that we definitely got to have with some other folks that like, you know what I mean, are like
people who do the work.
Exactly. I would say people that are like practitioners, you feel me, of like transformative justice, or even just like, you know, like when it comes down to like community healing and processes in general. You know what I mean?
It's important. Like I have a line in one of my poems. It's like, your community is only as healthy as its inhabitants. And that's real. Like if the community ain't healthy, then how is anybody else in the community going to stay healthy or be healthy? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, is toxicity or toxic positivity running rampant sometimes around in these kinds of conversations? And it's like, nah, like I'm not a practitioner. I can't give you all the answers, but I could tell you like there are people that actually have the answers and nobody's talking to them.
And I think, especially with transformative justice, it requires a very strong sense of community for people to like hold each other accountable. You know, and if you don't have that, and there's many reasons why you might not have that, whether it's the own community, like kind of waging war on each other, or we talked about it, you know, before, like, you know, before recording the podcast, like how they're like kind of making us, you know, spread out with gentrification, and that sense of community is just like reducing over time, because now we're just fine. Now we just got to go wherever we can afford instead of like staying where we at.
That's real too.
And you know, putting the work in to like maintain that community.
But also like now we have an idea of like how that can happen without us being physically present either. It's like we could do Zoom call.
Yeah,
like we have other modes of like a community is like my home is where my body is. So it's like no matter where I move around at, like if I need to get the information or commune in community, we can do that without having to be physically present.
That's facts.
Man, let me just say, it's a whole bunch of snapping in this episode. It's been great conversations for real. And I really, I think I can speak for everybody. We really do appreciate that. I think this is a strong contender. It's already, what is it, January 21st? This is already a strong contender for Guest of the Year right here.
Oh,
you know,
get out.
We do the bad for the community awards.
It's not first guest of the year too?
It's the first guest. She get it out the park. Every guest got it's a high bar to follow now. I'm not even gonna hold you. You know? That's how I feel.
I love y'all. Thank you.
I feel like this was really fire.
Real good for the
I really appreciate
you. That's why I was like, yo, I want to be on because y'all are lit as fuck. And why ain't y'all get nominated for the awards? Is it too spicy to say?
Ask them niggas that. Ask them. Yo, nah, next year.
No, don't tell that shit. They was here with C-Dub, and all respect to C-Dub, but y'all was here like, y'all wasn't claiming the pod like y'all should have.
We ain't dropping no. You see how they do it? We ain't dropping no. We said you gotta look at what we about to do this year.
Yeah, nah, this year is gonna be.
Oh, you guys was you was on with Charlie and them. Yeah. That's my guy.
The committee, what is it?
Nomination committee.
Yeah, facts, right? They clearly know who you are. You feel me? They're paying attention to what you're doing. Y'all on that platform right now. We're sharing this space. Y'all gonna see this. I don't want to hear, oh, we don't know about y'all. Y'all ain't valid enough. Like, come on, we starting it off strong.
The sponsor of your event is a sponsor to this podcast.
You feel me?
Oh.
So what's the excuse now, right?
Oh, that's a light flex though, but heavy. That's true.
Where's the cork opener?
That's true.
Where's the cork opener?
Be a voice. That's true.
He said the cork.
It's the Topo Chico moment of the
Yo, can we get some Topo Chicos with corks in it? What's up, bro? I'm trying to pop a Topo Chico.
Ooh,
it's not a twist off?
Nah,
it's not cool enough to twist it off.
Shout out our sponsor though, Topo Chico. We need some more flavors. We've been running through these. You feel me?
Can I try this?
We need the grapefruit one. We got the twisted lime and the regular.
You never had a Topo Chico?
Nah, it's my first one.
Oh shit!
Nah, yeah, these are good.
I saw them at the award show though.
Yeah, Topo Chico
very
is
refreshing, very crisp.
Just being controversial.
Real good water.
It's healthy Sprite.
Facts. It's really good.
Don't even compare it to that nigga. It's Topo Chico.
I would say it's seltzer water too.
Public relations right here. I like it.
One of the biggest things. Yeah, one of the biggest things about.
It does taste like Sprite though, real shit.
Topo Chico that's so cool too is that like now that they're doing like flavors and stuff like that, they do a really good job of like maintaining like a level of like distinction amongst their brand and their flavoring. Because even though like I feel you, it's like it does give like Sprite a little bit. It also like it's very distinctly
electricity of the Sprite.
Topo Chico.
It's just initially when you first sip it, like, and then
your body's like it's Sprite, and then your body's like,
it's like nah, it's not Sprite.
I will say we weren't paid to say this, okay? We genuinely feel this way. So
that is.
Shout out to all the good people who stayed around this long and enjoyed it and tuned into the conversation. I think it was a great conversation. Anybody who missed out on this, I kind of feel bad for them.
Facts. If you made it to this far into the episode, you know what I mean? Make sure you like and subscribe.
What should they type in the comments? What should they? We do this where like, if you made it this far, type something in the comments. What do you want them to type, Amanda? Or you got an idea? You?
A couple ideas.
What's up?
I want to hear what you say first.
One of them is if you got this far, go to the Topo Chico page and tag back to the community. No bullshit.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's do that.
You really fuck with the pod, you want to support us, that's how you support.
Or you screenshot the part that you're at because you made it this far, and then you tag everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. It's easy. Or you could follow, like, and subscribe.
And better than that, actually. Tune into what Amanda Shea is doing. Listen to her art.
Thank you.
And actually, because we didn't display it over here, we just heard your thoughts. And I think that's just as important too, to know the person behind the art, but like actually, see the reason why we even got her here. But also in post, y'all
could put the little images up and pop stuff in if you really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? You could do that.
Like I said, I was doing my Google. So there was one thing I took away that I thought it was real dope that you said, and it might be something I have to add to my night routine.
What's that?
You said stream your friends' music when you're going to sleep. Just
Facts.
Put that shit on. I guess don't put it on mute. I don't know if there's an algorithm that says like, oh, it's on mute.
You have to listen to the first 15 to 30 seconds of the song, and it can't be like in a row. You know what I'm saying? So like, say you got your music right here, then it's like put maybe 2 Drake songs in the middle of the playlist, and then put another song. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta hear at least the 15, 30 seconds for it to count as a stream.
Let's make a night playlist, a good night playlist, and you just add all the Boston artists and just obviously listen to it. You feel me? Like genuinely listen to it, but go to bed to it.
I got playlists of songs that I rock with from local artists. It's called or something like basically like these songs should be more popular, and it's like a playlist that I just be like having playing like all day.
I like that.
Like everywhere I go, like I'm not even like bumping it, like, but it's like I know that when I turn it up, like I'm gonna come back to something that I rock with. You feel me? So it's like I like have it running like all throughout the day.
And also pay attention to Drop Zone. Like they have this dope ass app of where like you could be in a location and it's gonna geotag and like have all this technology that shows you what local artists you should be listening to in the city. I'm probably doing like a really shitty job about trying to explain what the app is, but it's really, really dope, and I think it would be super advantageous for all artists to like just check it out. So check out Drop Zone.
Yeah, we gonna get on that.
That's fire.
If you got this far in the episode, leave snaps in the comment section.
Yes. We have an emoji now. Did you see the emoji?
For real?
Yes, we have an emoji now. At first I thought it was a thumb. I was like, oh, nah, this ain't a snap, but it's a snap.
Are you talking about this?
The thumb, yes.
Oh, this is my favorite. This is like the sauce. Like,
but
this
you're above.
No, this is like, oh, you like the sauce. I put this in your comments. I got high respect for you, But hey, once again, we really do appreciate you, Amanda. You're amazing. Keep doing great things.
I love y'all. Thank you for having me up here. And like all the other artists need to tap in because like this is the pod for real.
This is the pod.
This is the pod. I love you, CWFTB Radio. I love y'all.
Feel like an interview. This don't feel like a pod. This is just good conversation.
Right, we was cooking
It is a good conversation.
Hey man, y'all have a great rest of your week. We out.
Thanks.